Welcome, everybody, to Verdane TV. Thank you so much for joining us here this evening. Great big show tonight. Very excited here for the Old Dominion Speedway Memorial 200, a Legends place. We're going to be having some big fun tonight. I'm here with some legends in their own right, which is pretty exciting for me to be able to sit down and talk with these guys. Here with Dave Menefee, Edwin Pardue, and you don't see him, but you're definitely going to be able to hear him, Scotty Gore. Gentlemen, how are we doing this evening?
Oh, good evening, Paul. Thank you very much. And folks, just so you know, we thank the folks who make it all happen. All the stuff you're going to see tonight, all the video and everything, all the magic of the internet, that's going to be Mr. Paul Strickland Jr. back there punching all the buttons. So thank you very much, Paul. Listen, it's the COVID-19. It's a weird, different time none of us have ever been involved in. And there's been some negative and very sad things. The saddest of all is the fact that Edwin Pardue, Dave Menefee, and Scotty Gore are going to be calling a race. Let's check in first with a guy he has done about a little bit of everything at the Old Dominion Speedway. He's driven race cars. He's done announcing. He's been the PR director. He has waved the flags from the flag stands. Welcome into the broadcast, Mr. Dave Menefee. Dave, welcome, buddy.
Dave, we're going to have you check your sound just a little bit there, bud.
Probably need to unmute the mic.
Nailed it. First try. There we go.
Hold on. Wait, let's do this again, because that was a really good intro. We're going to edit that for future generations. Here we go.
No. We do it live here at Verdane TV.
Oh, my gosh. Here he is, one of the legendary voices of Old Dominion Speedway, Mr. Dave Menefee. Dave.
Well, thank you, Ed. I'm glad to be back. We'll make it work this time. Damn mute button. So so it's great to be back. This whole virtual thing, who'd have thought that in 2012, when you and I were working at Old Dominion together, that just 8 short years we would be virtually working together for a virtual race at Old Dominion Speedway. Isn't that crazy?
It's really, it is weird, but people have embraced this, and I think in the long term, it's going to be very, very good for the iRacing community, because it's going to bring, I think, new people into the sport who are afraid to do it. They're going to start doing a little of this online stuff, and I think it helps. I don't care if you're drag racing, road racing, oval asphalt, dirt racing. I think in the long term, it's going to be good for us.
I do, and honestly, and I'm going to have to raise my hand here. I actually joined iRacing last week, so I'm in the process of trying to put something together to go out and race and do this. I'm kind of missing going out each and every Saturday night for me, working at the Winchester Speedway. It's, I kind of miss it, but, I miss my asphalt friends, and I'm glad that David Pollen's called and asked me to help out with this broadcast. I'm looking forward to it. I think this is going to be really cool, and I look to maybe help them out in the future. And, you talked about, doing a lot of things at the racetrack, the driving and all that stuff. But, somebody else that's working with us tonight, who's also done a few things at the racetrack himself. He's also driven race cars. He's also flags. As a matter of fact, he was my mentor. He was the one that taught me how to do what I do up in the flag stand. And going on probably 25 years now, I've been waving the flags. He spent some time going straight and turning left on the oval, but he also spent some time on the drag strip. So I'd like to welcome Scott Gore to the broadcast. Scott?
Thanks for having me, Dave. And like Ed was saying, this may be the wave of the future here, where we do a lot more of this stuff. But I personally can't wait to get back to the racetrack, and hopefully it's a lot shorter than it is longer for me now.
Scotty, here's the sad part of this is you're by far the best looking of these three, and we don't have your camera. So honestly, those of you of the Scott Gore fan club, are we working on that? Can we get your camera going? Because honestly, the best looking of the three.
I don't know if we're going to make that happen or not. I'm over at David Pollen's house here and using all his equipment. So I don't know if that's going to pan out for us tonight or not.
Well, I will say that if we get to do this again, Scott, I will make sure that you have a webcam before we do the next broadcast.
I appreciate that, buddy.
So let's talk a little bit. We had the Old Dominion Speedway close. of course, from that sort of the sort of the genesis of that became what is now the Dominion Raceway in Thornburg, Virginia, a beautiful, beautiful facility. And then everybody kind of went off and did different things. A lot of folks went from Old Dominion to Dominion Raceway. I was there to help get that started. I'm now up at the Summit Point Raceway in West Virginia. And Dave Menefee, where do we find you these days in motorsports?
Well, I spent my entire career on the asphalt, with the oil dry and the what do they call, the marbles and everything up in the corners and getting hit with pieces of rubber up in the flag stand. And now I spend my time dodging dirt clods and pieces of rock and mud and everything else at the dirt track in Winchester, Virginia, out at the Winchester Speedway, which is only about 10 miles from my house. So, and it was an adjustment. This will be, if we race this year, it'll be my 6th year. Met a lot of people, fantastic people at Winchester, and having a good time out there. But I tell you, it was definitely an adjustment.
Yeah, it's a different animal, but there you are. You're at Winchester, and then you get to see some folks that show up there. Billy Earl and Scotty Gore come up there to race a little bit. Scotty, tell us a little bit about your venture to the Winchester Speedway. It was eventful, wasn't it?
Winchester was not near as bad as Potomac was, at least for Billy.
Billy struggled at that night, didn't he?
That's to say the least. But Winchester, we struggled with the car the whole night. We hadn't raced it in almost a year, and unfortunately, Gremlins got us, and we didn't even get to finish. But while I was at Winchester that night, somebody flipped right in front of me as well.
And now you've gone on, so you've taken what you've done, and you're working right now, and I will say this without any reservation, one of the best run motorsports operations in the country, PDRA. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing and what a great group those guys are.
It's probably the most, aside from working with my father and uncle, it is the best situation I've ever been in my life. Tommy and Judy Franklin own the organization. Tyler Crossnow runs it, and I work with a guy named Lee Sebring announcing. And I've never been with such a group of like-minded people about wanting to get the show done, wanting the best experience for the racers. It is just a phenomenal deal. I mean, it's not a bad deal when you get to see those high horsepower cars either. 970 cubic inch motors and 6 stages of nitrous, and it's just awesome, man. I absolutely love what I'm doing now.
And Scotty, you guys are doing mile per hour in the 8th mile. What are you hitting there in the time and block?
I think Chris Thorne in a turbo Corvette went 221, and that's 0 to 221 miles per hour in 3.6 or 3.6 seconds.
Yeah, like from here to the end of your driveway. They are. I've known Tommy for a long time, and so great to see what they're doing. And if you're a fan of motorsports in the Mid-Atlantic, bringing back that facility in Didwinty. I mean, and you can talk about blood, sweat, and tears that they put into that place. And let's just hope we get through this year and all that hard work pays off for them, because they are amazing people.
It's definitely one of the nicest places. I mean, they've really turned it around. The place, when it first opened up, was beautiful to begin with. And they've, like you said, they've really just put a lot of time, effort, and money into it. And it's premier. It's one of the nicest tracks on the East Coast, if not the nicest.
Let's talk about somebody else that puts kind of their money where their mouth is. And Dave, you're in a great situation there at Potomac. At Winchester, and then also at Potomac, a wonderful owner at those two facilities.
Yeah, Greg Gunner has taken over both racetracks and has done a phenomenal job putting it together. It's been a few years since I've been to Potomac. I worked there a little bit a while back, and so I haven't been to Potomac lately, but I understand that they've made a lot of improvements down there as well. And then, I came into Winchester, like I said, 6 years ago, and, those guys out there, they've been there for, I've been there going on my 6th year. They've been out there for 20 years, and these guys come out there and they start talking about, this place had this and this place had that, and Greg came in and did this and did that, and you look around and it's pretty phenomenal what he's done. Like all the racetracks, I kind of feel for him because like you, Ed, got this racetrack and hadn't put one race car on a racetrack this year, so it's been kind of tough, and he's got it two different ways. He's got to deal with the whole Maryland, how Maryland's going to handle this pandemic versus how Virginia's going to handle this pandemic. So it could come down to where he may be able to open up one and not another. And so, that could create some issues too. But, I think they're, based on some information that I've seen, it looks like they're starting to put some ideas together in terms of a when we open up versus if we open up. So that's kind of a good sign.
Yeah, and then of course the other piece, as we mentioned earlier, from what used to be Old Dominion Speedway, Dominion Raceway in Thornburg, Virginia, with their road course and their oval track. The oval track had just amazing reviews. Has been kind of the gem of short track racing for the last couple of years, and they're in the same situation as well, and we thank them. They're one of the sponsors here tonight for this broadcast. So you'll find people kind of went every different direction, and if you go to Dominion Raceway in Thornburg and sit down there one night, you'll see a lot of familiar names as well. So what we want to do tonight is kind of look back and talk a little bit about looking forward. But tonight is about looking at those people who made this Old Dominion Speedway so special. And, Scotty, you can talk to it so much. I mean, it goes back to just after World War II. You had a great uncle who was racing cars. These old dirt tracks were not very safe. Your grandfather, Al, said, I'm going to buy a racetrack and fix it up. And other people may not realize we're talking stock cars tonight, but the drag strip there was one of the original drag strips east of the Mississippi. I mean, there's so much history there that you got to be proud of.
Oh, absolutely there is. And I just went on the Turn 5 turnaround show a couple weeks ago, and I only got to talk for about 15 minutes, and that didn't even crack the tip of all the famous names that have been through that place, man. I mean, as you all know, or you both know, I should say, Richard Petty raced at both the round track and the drag strip there. And I mean, we could go on for hours upon hours with the famous people that have been through that place. It's just, it kills me to think of everybody, and I'll never remember all of them either. I'm sure my dad and my uncle could go on for even longer than myself about how many different people. And you guys even got to see some of the famous ones come through there as well.
Dude, I remember one night back in the late 70s when Darrell Waltrip was there running a sportsman car, and everybody booed him because that's back when he was the loudmouth. And way before
Jaws.
that, yeah, old Jaws, yeah. And before that, my uncle was running cup cars there back in the 60s. And again, Scotty, your family back there from the very, very start as well. So, and of course, Dave's a guy named Bob McElwee, who went on to be a cup driver.
Yeah, Bob, it's funny you mentioned Bob. Back in, 78 or 79, I was working at a parts store in Fairfax. And, here comes this guy walking in. I just thought he was just a regular customer. And he come walking in and he says, where are your brass fittings? And at the time, I had, one of the things I had.
Dave, let me hang on a second. Let me interrupt you for just a second because I've got a special call in here right now because I got Dave Menefee flagman, and I've got Scotty Gore flagman, and I have on the line with us right now one of the originals, Mr. Joe Prescott, on the line. Joe Prescott, how are you this evening?
I'm doing great. How are y'all doing?
We are doing well. I kind of popped a surprise on these guys. So you had Dave waving flags, you had Scotty waving flags, but Joe, you did it way back when. What year did you start waving the flags at the Old Dominion Speedway?
Well, I don't really know what year I started. I started as a tech inspector probably around 85. And I was young at the time, and it was just like a dice car. So I went to work for the racetrack. And then I backed up Dave Durst for a little while in the flag stand, and he quit. I flagged for 1 year, then Ron Brutt came back, flagged for another year, and then I replaced him and went all the way up. My knees got so I just couldn't climb the band anymore, and Patrick McIntyre took over for me, and unfortunately he lost his life in the flag stand. But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we
miss it every day.
remember very much. Was it true Ron Brutt used to go all the way from Pittsburgh every weekend to flag?
Yes.
My quick question for everybody is, you got to pick one. Give me one great memory from Old Dominion Speedway.
Our first win in the 48 car with Jeff Young.
There you go. And
That
of
was
course, I got
unbelievable night, you know. And the thing about it was, everybody that helped us was on vacation that week. It was just me and him. It was great.
Those are the nights. Yeah. Now we have these big giant crews. Sometimes it was the driver and one guy to turn some wrenches. And of course, you know, I'm excited to have Joe on because Joe's now joining us to be a flagger up at Summit Point. So it's nice to bring the family full circle. So
Yes,
Joe,
it
thank you so much for calling in. So if you have any, they can hear you. They're on the broadcast. If you have any tips for Dave Menefee, you know, he's flagging up at Winchester right now. What would be one flagging tip that you'd share with him?
Well, especially on the dirt tracks, make sure you got your goggles.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Joe Prescott, one of the original flaggers from Old Dominion Speedway. Joe, thank you so much for being on the broadcast. We appreciate it so much.
All right, thank you all. Have a good night. Nice to hear from everybody.
Thank you, Joe. All right, Dave. There's a little blast from the past that I wasn't going to share with you, Mr. Joe Prescott.
Yeah, it was good to hear from Joe. You know, I talked to Joe a little bit on Facebook a week or so ago, and I was surprised to hear he was living in Winchester. So I guess when you're not, you know, once we get this thing rolling again, you know, when you're not forcing him to work out at Summit Point, he said he's going to come out to Winchester and visit us a little bit. So, you know, I would invite him. I heard him say, he said something about his knees. We kind of lost connectivity there for a little bit, but he said something about his knees going up down the flag stand, which I certainly can relate to. You know, but you know, it'd be kind of neat if I could get him up the flag stand with me just to kind of see what that looks like with dirt. But I don't think he'll want to do it.
Yeah, he mentioned Patrick McIntyre. I was there that night. I believe that was 1992. Yeah,
92.
Because I remember I was going the next day to Martinsville. It was going to be Richard Petty's last race at Martinsville, and in a very, very weird accident, a car got into the flag stand. Did not hit Patrick, but it rattled the flag stand enough that he kind of bounced off the bars there and passed away. So as much as we remember all of the really, really great times there, also realize people who, you know, gave the ultimate sacrifice to make motorsports important. So I do appreciate Joe, mentioning Patrick McIntyre. Let me go back to Scotty Gore for a minute. Scotty, what got you up in the flag stand?
Unfortunately, what you're talking about, I replaced or went up in the flag stand after Patrick passed away with Tom Pretty. So Tom Pretty and myself became the flagman at that point.
Let's talk about, you know, this is kind of the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about a racing family. A racing family is unlike any other. They're like a carnival family. They're like the flying Walindas up on the high wire. Here is someone has passed away in the flag stand. Your dad's running the racetrack, and he turns to his son Scotty and says, "Scotty, I need some help up in the flag stand."
Well, he took me to the bar first. Okay. so that's how that worked out. But I mean, like you know, Dave and myself both, and probably yourself, Edwin, we've all had 100 jobs at the racetrack. And that's how my announcing career started. Was one day at New London Dragway where we were operating. The announcer didn't come, so my uncle looked at me and said, "Guess what you get to do today?" And that's where it all started for me as far as announcing goes.
Well, it's a neat thing because it is sort of that circus family type of atmosphere. Here's the family, and we're going to get this thing done, and you go do this, and you know, your sister was in the concession stand, your brother was driving the pace car, and as a family you just made it work. But you know, some people outside of this world wouldn't understand it, that hey, the one flagman passed away and stand, oh, I'm gonna have my son get up there and flag. That's what you did. You're a family, you made it work.
Yeah, and the cousins and the in-laws and the outlaws and everybody there, and I said it on that show the other week, everybody there was related or family to an extent, and if you weren't sharing the last name of Gore, my dad had made every effort to make sure that you felt like you were part of the family when we were running things.
Yeah, there were several times when I was, something going on in my life or my career, and, your old man would take me aside and said, "All right, Bub, come over here. Let me talk to you a little bit and give you some advice."
Bub. That's normally when you were in trouble, though.
Yeah, I got the good Bub, not the bad Bub.
You got the backwards Bub.
Yeah.
B-U-B, not B-U-B.
So let's transition a little bit and talk about what we're going to do tonight. So we have these iRacing drivers, most of them names that you'll recognize from the days of Old Dominion Speedway, others representing drivers from Old Dominion Speedway. It's set up on the iRacing platform at the Richmond Raceway. And Dave, since you're the newest iRacer, I'm going to pick your brain a little bit. It is so incredibly lifelike. Talk about that experience of driving, because you've done laps at Old Dominion Speedway versus doing a virtual lap in iRacing.
Well, the difference being is that I had a lot of help when I was out there. I would go and, I'd pick Scotty's brain when we were running the karts out there, and every once in a great while he'd pick my brain. He didn't really need to pick my brain because he was stomping me every week. But we would sit there after we'd go out there on the racetrack. We'd go talk to each other, and on the iRacing deal, unless you're in that iRacing clique, which I'm just now starting, so I have really no clue. I go out there and try to make laps, and the car's all over the place, and I don't have anybody to get out and say, "Oh man, the car's doing this or car's doing that." So you kind of gotta. It's a little difficult at first until you get yourself involved in the iRacing community. But once you get that, there's people out there with setups, and there's people out there with lines and stuff like that. And of course, it's been, I don't know, Scott, how long has it been since we've been on a racetrack? It's been a long time.
It's been a while.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where you always have to relearn it again too. So it's the coolest thing about it is if you wad them up, you just hit the reset button and and your stuff's all fixed again. So that's kind of nice.
No garage time, Dave?
No garage time. And back when I was racing, Scott, I was like you. It wasn't just our carts, your cart and my cart that was, you were working on Amy's, I was working on my daughter Shannon's. So we were doing double duty trying to get two of these things back on the road again.
Oh, absolutely. And she was pretty hard. My wife was pretty hard on equipment,
Yeah, well, Shannon was too. She was hard on equipment, and there was a couple of times she was actually hard on, her helmet and her neck brace when she was throwing the racetrack stuff too.
So
she never threw her helmet. I do have to say that she never threw her helmet.
You guys bring up something so important. So here, Dave, you're talking about you and you're racing with your daughter. And we already talked about Scotty and his family. And then Scotty's now racing with his wife. And, that's one of the things that is very, very unique about this sport is that family connection. It's one of the very few things in motorsports that we do as adults, as a family. Your kids will play pee-wee soccer or baseball, but they grow out of that and you move on to other stuff. But motorsports is unique because throughout life you're able to continue to share that with your family. At Summit Point now, I see drivers up there that there's third, fourth generation drivers who have been there throughout the all that time. Dave and I talked in the we had a pre-broadcast meeting. Charlie Ford, who's one of the legendary names at Old Dominion Speedway, his son is now a road racer and racing at DIR and Summit Point and all these other places. It is one of the very, very rare pieces where it doesn't stop when the kids get out of high school. You continue to do it for life. And Dave, I can imagine when you and Shannon were racing together in that champ kart, probably some of the best days you'll ever remember.
I think, I can tell you now that probably the best race that we ever had was one year that it was myself and Scott and Chris Shepard and Shannon were all bunched up at the top of the point deal. And we came down to the last race and, it was basically what it boiled down to was if whoever won the race was going to win the points championship. And Scott, I know you remember this, but we were plugging along down the back straightaway. You were leading and Chris was second. Me and Shannon were third and fourth. And we went down the back straightaway with about 3 laps to go, and you hand grenaded the motor on the side of yours. You about wadded all 4 of us up. And Chris and I went to the outside, and Shannon and I were able to pass him. Shannon finished second, which gave me the championship that year. But I know Scott remembers that because that was a hairy moment. But at the end of the day, after that happened, whether we'd have wrecked or whether we won, lose, or draw, we would all went down to pits and we said, man, that was great. I can't wait till next Sunday.
Yeah, that definitely woke me up when the rod came out of the front of it.
Yeah, they do that, don't they?
That was not cool. But I mean, it was awesome. And it's funny because the other week I was asked, what was my wildest moment? And of course, being around the racetrack for all those years, there's so many that crossed my mind. And I rattled the first one out, but once again, that'd be another 2-hour program if we decided to all give our wildest moments. Like,
yeah,
I think as a flagman, my wildest one was I was flagging and Marianne Kirtley got upside down on top of another car, and they went through the fence at the end of the backstretch, and you couldn't see the cars or anything. Like, they were gone. They went clean out of the racetrack. That was, and the night that Dave, I'm sure you remember this one. We were racing go-karts, and Amy was on the inside row, and there's like 8 carts all packed together, and she turned me coming out of 4, and that's when you went up into the outside wall with Chris Shepard. You remember that time?
Oh, I still feel it back there. It still hurts.
I guarantee you it was violent. But I mean, there's been so many incidences.
But at the end of the day, man, we said, hey, man, let's go have a beer.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, and it's funny because I'd complain about somebody, and Amy would look at me and said, if it weren't for him, you wouldn't have any drive to do this at all. And she was right. I mean, we'd be fierce competitors out on the racetrack, but at the end of the day, I'd go over and help you load your cart, or help you clean up your pit area or whatever. I mean, just that's the way we were.
Well, whatever was left of mine that night, because there wasn't a whole lot left of mine after that one.
That was pretty brutal.
Yeah, it was. I was actually there that night. You talked about Marianne Kirtley. She got up on top of Rick Stark, that 05 car. And what was bad about that wreck, Scott, is when they got together and she went on top of his car, they both went over that fence, and neither one of them touched the fence.
Yeah, I mean, it was
crazy.
It was
all
big.
Down in the sticker bushes and everything else down there.
Yeah, and walked away. Amazing.
And walked away.
Well, you guys talk about it because they're like I say, they're all these ties. And, Dad had been racing out. My dad had been racing out there for years, and I was working at a little AM radio station right there in Manassas. They said, "Oh, let's start doing the races live on the radio. Edwin, you can do them." And so all of a sudden, there I went from being in the pits to up there, me and Guy Hamilton, and I still remember his name, our original pit reporter, Greg Bickle, and we kind of taped all this stuff together to make it work, but that was a blast. And so we did a year of races on the AM station, and then we took it over.
Is that what that was? Kicks Country? No,
it was WPRW.
Oh, PRW. Okay,
No,
I thought it was PWC.
Yeah, so PWC was in Dumfries. PRW was there in Manassas.
Okay.
In fact, actually, they've turned that. The barn right there is now like this really fancy brewery and everything.
Yes. Yeah.
And right beyond that, you can still see the old towers of the old WPRW. And then the next year, we took it to 94.3. We got fancy. We went to FM and
radio.
we took it to WQRA out of Warrenton. And then that for a couple years. So it was crazy for me because there was 2 years there where I was up in the booth calling races, and Dad was still down there racing. So we all have these unique stories. Let's talk about what we're going to do tonight. Tonight, there are going to be drivers. A lot of the names you'll recognize, a lot of the paint schemes you're going to see, you're going to recognize, because it's drivers who either raced at Old Dominion Speedway or the old track had an impact on their life. We're going to use the Richmond Raceway setup from iRacing. There's been a bunch of practice racing, and it's gotten a little scrappy at times. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take your favorite drivers, your favorite paint schemes, your favorite memories from the Old Dominion Speedway in Manassas. We're going to take them to Richmond Raceway for you for an all-star battle on iRacing. We got special guests who are going to call in, so stick around for that. We're going to have, I believe, some heat races coming up to determine the final setup. So we've talked a little bit about the past, and we'll do some more of that. But we're going to do some really hardcore iRacing for you in just a little bit. So we're excited about that. We're going to get everybody's insight on it. I see, Dave's monitoring a couple different screens. I've got my Facebook going here. You can send some questions in. And here's the really cool one is Scotty is sitting in the same room where David Pollen's, a former track champion, he'll be iRacing. Scotty, how far are you actually from David's rig?
2 feet, 3 feet, maybe.
Gotcha.
But I do want to do this too, Dave and Ed. I'd like for each of us to pick somebody tonight, and hopefully David doesn't kick me out when I pick who I'm going to pick. But let's do that at some point too. Pick a winner.
Yeah. If I don't want to, I'll go first, and only because I've kind of cheated a little bit and looked at some of the qualifying. I'll tell you what,
come on.
DJ Powell, who started doing some karting and some other stuff at Old Dominion and has been running a U-Car at Dominion Raceway. I'm just going to jump right in right now and say my man DJ Powell looks pretty good.
All right, Scott, I'm going to let you go because you said I was going to kick you out, so I want to hear who it was because, I've kind of got a couple here that I've been looking at all week. So
I'm going to go ahead and call it FDJ for the win.
FDJ.
Oh, yeah, I just got the look, too. Man, I'm in trouble.
Oh, okay. All right, I just figured it out. No, yeah, that was one of those things that happened on one night, and we don't have a problem with it anymore. So yeah, I know exactly. Yep. But hey, good pick, Scott. The guy's a legend when it comes to short track. So yeah,
he absolutely is, and I'm telling you, man, me and him go way back. So hopefully he does me proud tonight. I'm sure he can.
Well, I am going to, and I hate when people ask me to pick people. I used to do when I did these articles, I would do like a season prep, a preseason article, and I would pick these drivers, and these guys would come up to me and say, "Man, you didn't put my name in there," and everything. So I kind of hate doing this, but I am going to go and I'm going to pick the 52 car of Jeff Dillon. Now, Jeff Dillon does a lot of iRacing, and I've been following Jeff on this iRacing thing, and my man has put in some serious laps, got himself a championship. So I'm going with the 52 of Jeff Dillon.
Oh man, my man Dave's done his homework.
Let's go back into the studio. There's Paul Strickland. Let's check in with Paul. Paul, looks like we might have some heat races. Let's check in with Paul. Paul, what's our schedule here going forward?
Well, you nailed it right on the head. We're getting ready to do some heat racing. We actually just wrapped up with the single car qualifying to line everybody up in the heat races, and we're hearing from race administrator Rowdy Wesley Hogue. We're taking the top 22 times. We're actually going to throw the top 22 drivers. We've been kind of bouncing back and forth here between the pre-race show and the qualifying efforts. Take a look right now, the top 10 on your screen. DJ Powell with the pole in that 56 car. Brandon Queen second.
Hello, thank you, people.
He cheated, I'm telling you. Brandon Queen second, Jeff Dillon third, Eric Jones, Kevin Dillon, Sergio Pena, David Pollen's, the guy putting this whole deal together, he's starting seventh. Tyler Payne, Ryan Ellis, Kyle Fowler rounding out the top 10. Change the page here. Jerry Scott, Tyler Hughes, Jason Chilton, David Markham, Chris Reardon, JJ Pack, Frank Diney. Help me out. Daney Jr., Jonathan Findley, Curtis Klein, Trevor Collins, and then Scott Wilkerson and Cole Bruce. Those guys are locked in. Everybody else, they're going to have to race their way in to through the heat races. So we're taking the top 22 from qualifying and then the top 3 from each heat race for a total of 28 starters. So a couple of cats are going to be going home tonight, and they're actually still going to be at home because that's where everybody's racing because this is iRacing.
Right. Yeah, you're not in your chair.
Right.
So Paul, I heard a couple Dillons in there, and I heard Ed's guy on the pole. I heard Frank Daney in there, but I heard a couple Dillons. Did I hear Jeff Dillon at all? I didn't see where my pick was at.
Jeff Dillon is P3, so he's got a good starting spot too.
All right.
So we're looking at first, third, seventh, and Scotty. Who did you pick?
He picked.
Don't worry about my man. My man will be there.
Roger that. We'll ask again after the race.
Life.
Gotcha. Hey, let me do this is a little offline talk, Paul, but just let you know, where do we need to go, if I can click on you and get our race feed, correct?
Yep, we're actually gonna kick it off. We got a quick little special memorial Old Dominion Speedway video here. We're gonna play here for you. So everybody watching at home, be sure to check this out. And it's going to be one of those things, we may very well clip this out and have it shareable after the event, because it's pretty cool to just kind of take a look. I've never been to the track, but man, it's pretty cool to see some of these pictures. You can see there's a lot of memories going on here. But we're going to kick it over to that video right now, and we'll get everything squared away. And when we come back here live, we're going to be doing some heat racing, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We'll give it 10 seconds here. I'll bring it up the track video and
Ed, two.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome to virtual Richmond Raceway. It's the Old Dominion Speedway Reunion 200. So tonight, some of the names, some of the cars that you loved at Old Dominion Speedway in Manassas, Virginia, they're brought back to life tonight. And we've put them on the Richmond Raceway in a virtual iRacing experience. These guys have been practicing. There's been qualifying. We're going to have a couple heat races coming up for you. And it's all so that we can look back at Old Dominion Speedway and look forward to the future. You can hear in the background, my dog is excited for this event. And I'm excited too, because I got two of my best friends in the entire world with me here. Both of them have joined us in the announcer's booth, in the flag stand. Let's first welcome to the broadcast, Mr. Dave Menefee. Dave, welcome.
Well, thank you, Ed. It's good to be back. Good to be back at the racetrack and working with you again, even though it's virtual racing. But so we're in the virtual press box here at Richmond International Raceway. Looking forward to a fantastic night. And Ed, the weather looks beautiful. I don't think there's any rain in sight.
It is. That's the great thing about virtual racing. We can control the weather. As far back as Dave Menefee's history goes with Old Dominion Speedway and with racing in the Mid-Atlantic, our next person that we're bringing to the broadcast, he goes back as far as you can go back. His family is probably one of the most important families in racing because not only of their influence in stock car racing, but also their influence in drag racing. Very, very few families have had the reach in both sides of the sport like this family. And please welcome to the broadcast, Mr. Scott Gore. Scotty, welcome.
Well, thanks for having me, man. This is a really cool deal, and I got to hand it to David Pollenz for putting all this together, man. This was his brainchild, and I'll tell you what, I'm just excited to be part of it.
So what we're going to see tonight is, to begin with, two 10-lap heat races. The top three will advance to the feature race. They've already locked in the other drivers in qualifying. We'll let you know who those folks are. In fact, you see there on the leaderboard, DJ Powell on top of the qualifying. There have been practice races. There have been, all these simulations so that the guys can really get a feel for what they're doing here. And there's a difference. Some of these people are racers. Some of these are those young guys that, are totally online racers. And there's the great story. And somebody help me out. Who was the racer who actually got a ride with Dale Earnhardt Jr. because
TJ.
of online? Yes, there you go. Yes. Actually got a ride with Dale Earnhardt Jr. because they were racing online together. So.
Yep, you actually saw that was TJ Majeski, and you actually saw him here live this past Sunday on Verdane TV. He won the SK Modified race at Stafford Motor Speedway in the East Coast Winter League. So it's very cool to see him come out. And he's one of the guys. He's actually got two iRacing accounts that both have an I rating of over 10,000. Now that may not mean a lot to people that don't really do the iRacing deal, but that is a feat to behold. He is a very clean, very, very fast racer.
That voice you just heard is our good friend Paul Strickland. Paul is back in the studio. He's controlling all the shots for you. He'll help us out with some info throughout the night. And also we'll hear tonight from Wes Rowdy Hogue. So Wes will be joining us as well. He'll help us out down there on pit road and picking up some numbers. And right there, Paul Green, he's a race car owner. He's a very successful man. Yet somehow he couldn't put numbers on the side of his car. Come on, Paul. Come
Well,
on,
it's
Paul.
a good thing. It's a good thing that we're virtual and not real, because I can hear the tower already. I can hear those girls up there already saying that car needs to have numbers on it before it goes on the racetrack. I can hear it. It's like,
And they better not be reflective, right?
they better not be reflective, and they better not be the same one as somebody else's.
That's right.
All right, you got 6 cars. So in this race, 3 in, 3 out. There is, I want to pick a couple guys out. Paul Green, we mentioned, a race car owner. Ryan Polenz, a race winner at Old Dominion Speedway. Tony Fowler, modified racer. And then there's Albert Anderson. Albert Anderson, Dave and I mentioned this the other night in our pre-race, that Albert Anderson, the only African-American to win a race on the oval at Old Dominion Speedway. There's Barry Kammer, Mike Waddell, and are we racing? I believe we are. No,
Hold on,
sorry,
hold
Troy's
on.
still out there.
I've been informed from my driver in the same room that there's an auto caution because for some reason Ryan Polenz glitched out and it put him on pit road. So it looks like he'll be joining the field. There he is. He's back on the field, on the racetrack now.
So you'll see that a little bit. So if somebody's internet connection is not great, they're going to disappear and then they'll reappear. Let's talk about one more thing that is unique to iRacing. Oh my gosh, real racers would love it. You do get one reset during the night. So if you just have that, oh my goodness moment, you will get one reset tonight. And I believe, Paul, that reset will just be for the feature event, but you'll get one reset here tonight where you hit the OS button.
Correct. The OS button is a really good way to word it, and that's essentially what it is, and that is for the feature. So if for one reason or another you total your car here in a heat race, and you do make the top 3 and transfer into the feature later on tonight, you will still you'll be able to start the race with a new car, but you'll also still get that reset.
Gotcha. All right, I believe everybody's where they need to be. I remember years ago when this was still the half-mile, Richmond Fairgrounds Raceway would have been back in the, mid-1980s. The first time ever the late model stock cars went there. And it was a great, great time. We took the old stock car down there, and I need to go back and look. Somebody's online listening. Who won? This would have been the spring of '86, that first ever late model stock car race at the old fairgrounds. Ryan Polenz keeps kind of digiting out on us there.
Menefee, have you ever glitched out of a race?
I've glitched out everywhere in my whole life. I've glitched out. I've glitched out in the flag stand. I've glitched out in the race car. I've pretty much glitched out anywhere you can imagine. I've glitched out.
I don't know that I ever used that as an excuse, but I wish I would have now. I just glitched out, man. I don't know what happened.
Actually, Scott, I will tell you, one time you did glitch out. We were on the pace lap on the carts going down the small track, and you glitched out right into the side of me, and we got hung up. They had to stop the car or the pace lap because they couldn't get us apart.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't throw any water on us, thank God.
No, we did that though, didn't we?
Yes, we absolutely did, and I once again, the whole show of just the dumbest stuff that's ever happened at a racetrack, we could fill hours upon hours with that.
Oh yeah, we would be at 250 laps before we finished doing something like that. So.
Absolutely.
Covered all during these the pace laps. I think we're good here.
I forgot too. I mentioned David Polenz, but there's a couple other guys I need to give shout outs to, and one of them is Tyler Payne. Who was the other one, Dave? Eric Jones. I couldn't remember. He said, he's got a whole list of names in front of me, and I'm glitched out there.
Scotty, you glitched out. That's gonna be the word tonight. Glitched out.
That's gonna be our gig tonight, man.
Let me jump back as we're getting ready for this race. If you want to go to an exciting motorsports event, do go online, look up the PDRA, show up there for one of their weekend events, and listen to Scotty and those guys up in the tower. It is. Again, it's the most excitement you can see in an 8th mile in your life. And Scott, you guys just do a wonderful job because you live it, you know it, and you guys do a wonderful job. Talking about fun, pace truck. is in, and there's Paul Green. We are racing at virtual Richmond Raceway. Paul Green leads them down into turn 1. There's Albert Anderson.
Oh, there we go.
Up on the high side, and Albert's already
Albert.
around.
Yep.
Send it.
Yep.
So
Put it
I was
out,
going to
put it
tell
out,
you,
put it out.
yeah, put it out, Dave, and shake your flag at Paul Green when he comes back
I'm
for
going
jumping
to
the
shake
start.
he jumped the
Shake
start.
the flag at him. He jumped a little bit.
Oh,
right
yeah,
there.
see, Scott, I was thinking about that. I was looking at that start, but I didn't know where the start line was because I didn't see it, and I didn't see when the flag would wave the flag, so I couldn't make that call, Buck.
Tony Fowler leads them. Yeah.
I don't think
Tony
didn't even
Fowler
go
leads
caution.
them up there.
We didn't even go
there's
caution.
no caution in the heat races. Tony Fowler, he comes from a very proud modified racing tradition. He leads them now, Fowler and Green down the front straightaway. No, this is enduro, baby. No caution flags in the heat race. So right now, there's your top 3, Fowler, Green, Waddell, and they let's see, will they end up transferring? That might have been lap 10 right there.
Did
Only
they count the
top
caution
3
flags
will
on that? Is that what
transfer.
ended up happening?
So they did count the caution laps, and looks like we're getting ready for a little bit of a warm-up session here. But yeah, unfortunately, with the connection issues with the one driver at the beginning of the race, the iRacing server actually threw the caution automatically right at the start, and we unfortunately ran the first 4 or 5 laps there under green. So
I can tell you right now, Paul, you're going to have about 3 or 4 drivers that
Yeah.
are coming to see you at the end of
Yes,
this.
sir.
Oh, they're not going to come see
going
me.
to.
They don't know where the production trailer is.
I told
Hey, is there
every
any
one of them.
provisionals tonight? Is there any past champions provisionals or anything like that going on?
I'm
No,
not 100% sure. I don't believe there is. I know we
I
took
did
the
not
top.
hear anything about that, Scott.
Yeah, I know we took the top 22 qualifying times, and
Yeah.
I think we were supposed to have more than one heat race here. Let me see if we can pull up. We're actually going to pull up the race official here, Rowdy Wesley Hogue, my brother from another mother. Wes, we had one heat race there. It looked like it was mostly under caution. Have you got any kind of update here for us? Ground control to Major Wes. Wes, you got a copy? All right, Wes isn't here, man, so we'll bump him back down there.
Like at a real racetrack. The officials done left the building.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on. I'm going to the bar.
Yeah.
So,
They're good.
let
One
me
down the
share-
end. Oh,
Oh, that didn't look good. So
No,
let me share, I'll tell you two really fun spots. So you talk about getting in trouble. You know, when you got in trouble at Old Dominion Speedway, you ended up underneath the grandstands in Mr. Gore's office, and Dick would sit behind his desk. There was a little couch there, and he would yell and fuss a little bit at you. And then once all the yelling and fussing was done, then somebody would crack open a delicious beverage and go from there. But you definitely, Scotty, you'll remember, you were just a kid, but you remember you did not want to be the one that had to show up at Dick's office under the grandstands at the end of the night.
No, absolutely not. And I mean, many of them came through there, and most of the time it ended happily. You know, I mean, Dad was fair, and you may not agree with the call that he made, but I can assure you that it was the same for everybody. He always used to say, you know, it's just a color of a car and a number out on the racetrack, and you know that very well. I mean, that's how things went, you know.
He told me one time, he said, if they all leave here a little bit mad, at least I know I was being even.
That's true.
Well, and then, you know, years later after that, you know, I was so lucky, got to go and be part of the reopening, that brief little reopening of North Wilkesboro Speedway, and I got to sit there in Enoch Staley's office, and they had sealed that office at North Wilkesboro Speedway just like it was the last race when Enoch was there. And I really felt a whole lot similar between what Dick had done and Enoch Staley and Clay Earls and you know, Paul Sawyer, all those guys that were these kind of early. They were the early pioneers of it. And so when you sit in the office of those guys, you really do get a feel for what it was like. And it was like barnstorming, and it was a different era. So, but yes, I do remember nights sitting down there in Mr. Gore's office. There's Jeff Dillon. I believe that was your pick there, wasn't it, Mr. Menefee?
Yeah, I'm looking at him sitting at the top of the leaderboard right now too. So, I know that there's there's 200 laps and anything can happen. I've seen a lot of things in my my years at the racetrack, and you got to finish all 200 of them to try to win these things. So we're not all. I'm not getting too excited right now. I just hope he he doesn't tear it up behind JJ here in the number 6 car.
Hey, practice is practice, and practice makes perfect. And being on the top of the board is definitely a good thing here for Jeff Dillon. Looks like he got a little piece of the wall there. Oh,
yeah, just as we say, and then he almost runs into the car on the infield there. So yeah, so he's making me look bad, but you don't. And it's one of the and we Scott and Ed and myself during this broadcast, you're going to hear a lot of terms that came from the racetrack, and one of them is you can't win practice. So we heard that a lot because unfortunately we had a lot of guys tear their stuff up in practice because they thought that they were racing, and we got to remind them, say, hey, you can't win practice.
100%.
Dave, you bring up a good point. There's a guy series called the Super Cup Stock Car Series, and they take in some of the old Hooters Pro Cup cars and all that. In fact, JJ Pack has run that Super Cup Stock Car Series. The guy that runs that's a guy named Joe Schmalling. And Joe's point is he does not allow testing the day before and practice on race day. You've got 2 short practice sessions, and then you go qualify and race, because he said the only thing that happens in practice is you got a more opportunity to wreck your car or something to break. And he takes that whole thing, this thing of practicing for 12 hours before, you practice for 12 hours and then you're on a 50-lap race that takes for, 15 minutes, doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I had to get used to when I moved from the asphalt practice to the dirt practice, is that, very first time I went out there, I waved a green for these, they're super lates to go out there, and I'm just letting them go, because I'm used to 20-minute practices for the late models on the asphalt, and I'm just letting these guys go, and all of a sudden they come over the radio and said, hey, Dave, what are you doing? I said, well, we're doing practice. He says, dude, they get 3 laps. So they'll roll in, they get 3 laps of practice, and then we put them on the racetrack. So, yeah, I hear you.
Hey, Dave, dude, speaking of that, I just got word from the driver in the room that at 8:05 is when this thing will start. That 53-minute warm-up clock is not accurate at 8:05.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't think it was accurate either, but I didn't want to bring it up.
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is actually Wes Rowdy Hogue here from the Admin Control Center here. You guys having some fun tonight?
Hello, Wes Rowdy Hogue, and welcome to the broadcast. Glad to have you here. You can keep us straight, so when we're just jabbering away and you realize we don't know what the heck we're talking about, you reel us back in, brother.
Most of the time we don't either, but but usually if we get a couple daddy sodas in us, it starts to make sense down the road. So as long as it makes sense to us, that's what matters, right? So here, what we're actually going to be advancing the server now. So we're going to actually start getting rocking and rolling as we speak. The feature is going to start. Unfortunately, because of the way that the server was set up, that previous race, it was either 10 laps or 6 minutes. Unfortunately, we met that 6-minute mark before the 10 laps because there was a glitch in the beginning where a driver got stuck on pit road. And it was kind of a courtesy caution that we threw for him so he can have a chance at it. Unfortunately, that caution put us over that time limit. So that's why you saw that. And because
that's what you call the small print, right? Is that what that is?
Yeah, that's absolutely what it is. And the drivers can't read that either. So
well, neither did the announcers.
Hey, Wes, let me ask you a quick question. As we've, because there's so much more focus on iRacing right now than there has been in the past. Have you guys found that you're changing a little bit the way you do the events to make them more viewer friendly? So before it was simply, we want to make it cool for the driver. Now we want to make it cool for the viewer. Have you found yourselves adjusting what you do to make it more viewer friendly?
You know what? Absolutely. Especially for the drivers that have real life sponsors that they want to accommodate. We do a lot of our new Smyrna Speedway series and our Florida Pro Truck series where we give those drivers ways to get more TV time, so to say, to make it more exciting for the viewer. A lot of our drivers have fans in real life that watch. So we have changed certain things, such as this qualifying session here. iRacing typically doesn't have that qualifying session that you just saw. Typically, it's a 5-minute session. Everybody goes out at once. You can't see the other cars, but everybody goes out, they qualify, and they go. Whereas the Old Dominion here, they did it where everybody went out one at a time, so each driver would get that TV time. And I'll tell you what, that is a really cool thing to do. I think it's something that other leagues should implement, that have real-life drivers that are awaiting this this pandemic to cease, so they can get out on the track, and it allows them to get the TV time for their sponsors that they don't typically get. So absolutely, guys, we have been changing up ways here on the broadcast to make it more fan-friendly, as well as sponsorships. You know, we have our own sponsorships here at Vidane TV. We want to make sure they get the time and get their name out there as well.
And you know, it's such a changing environment. So Wes, jump in anytime and give us some of that insight. I believe we're getting ready to go racing here. Paul, give us an update. Are we ready to go racing here at the Old Dominion Reunion 200?
We are all lined up 2 by 2 all the way through. We just went through the qualifying grid. The lights are off on the pace truck. We're about to, the pace truck's dipping on down. It's time to go green, boys.
Here we go. DJ Powell on the pole, on the inside. Pace truck down the front straightaway. Green flag in the air, and we are racing. And you see Brendan Queen, that's Butterbean on the outside. He'll lead them into turn number 1. You're looking out of the front bumper of DJ Powell. Jumping to the inside now. You can go 3 wide down that back straightaway, but it gathers back in 3 and 4. That's the battle for second. Queen leads lap number 1. The battle is for second, and Dave Menefee, look there in third. There's the 52 car. That's your driver, Dylan. He's fourth.
Yeah, and it right now I think you know, these guys need to kind of let this thing settle in. I mean, 200 laps is a long way around, and I think you know, they need to let these tires settle in and let them. And you know, I say the tires and all this, that, and the other. That is all part of this iRacing. The tires wear, the fuel runs down, the payload or the fuel load and everything, and it makes the cars handle different. A lot of people don't realize this is not just your old Papyrus that you used to race back in the day. This stuff, you know, when the fuel load goes down and the tires wear out, and then the track starts getting a little slick, that's all built into this software. So, you know, these guys right now, you know, they've still got you know, 190 some odd laps to go. They really need to let this thing pan out, because you've got drivers from all different sorts of racing out here, and I think they just need to cool it for just a little while before they start racing.
You see 2 of the Dylan cars there, yeah, back to back, and I believe Mr. Gore, the man sitting right next to you, the 33 car, he's making a move.
He is, and you ought to hear him in here talking to the screen. It's amazing.
Yeah, you probably want to bleep that out too, because we do we have a bleep button there, head control?
We don't need no stinking bleep button.
I'm gonna try to mute my mic if he starts going off. This is good.
We're not on a delay, right?
No, not at all. But it's this is cool, man. And you know, like you were saying, not only does the fuel load change, the tires wear, but they also damage the virtual sheet metal every once in a while when they get up and rub on the right side.
I got to figure out how. So Brendan Queen leading this thing. You know, his nickname is Butterbean. I got to figure out how he got that nickname, Butterbean. But there he is in the 03 car. There's DJ Powell. He is sitting there in second. And then there's Eric Jones, and we have caution on the Speedway. The yellow is out. We'll see a few of those here tonight. But it's Queen, Powell, and Jones.
Oh, there we go.
1, 2, and 3. Oh. Wait, can you? Oh no, somebody got into the wall.
60
car.
car.
Blow a motor.
That's Jonathan Finley.
Oh, Jonathan Finley. You talk about a great family. You know, Finley came out, young kid. One of the early. Let's see. We're going to back up and see what happened to Jonathan. Yeah. So here's the replay. You're down there. It looks like they're down in 1 and 2. Finley in the 60. Did he get a little help?
No, they got to go down the front straightaway first, Ed. We're going to see what happened. It happened up in 1 and 2.
I think JJ there in the 6 car might have had something to do with it. Let's see.
JJ.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh.
Hey, Dave, is this where the OS button comes in?
Yeah.
And remember,
who else was involved in that? The 13 car. Who was out on the bottom there that was involved? guess it was a 42 car, maybe. No.
Remember, the OS stands for O Sugar.
Yeah, it does. That's the last thing we said before we hit the fence, wasn't it, Scotty?
Yes, sir. And I just gave my driver in the same room a verbal warning about his language, so hopefully he'll tighten that up a little bit.
Hey, let's take a look. Hey, Director, if we can look at that double O car for just a second. Right there, this is what we noticed the other night. You're going to go throwback. That double O car, that bright orange on it, it's a different number, but if you look on the side, let's quiz Scotty Gore. Scotty, the sponsor on that is a bright orange car with SSI on it. Who are we throwing some tribute to on that double O car?
I know exactly who you are, and that's who I threw my tribute to the last year the racetrack was open in 2012 when we ran that U car. My number one car, or the number one on my car, was a homage to Danny Fair.
And, you know, the neat thing, we talked about this the other night. So that SSI company, back when they sponsored Danny Fair, was owned by a guy named Eddie Murphy. His son, Rusty Murphy, began driving, and now Rusty, his son, Eddie's grandson, has picked it up, and he's been doing some racing over the last couple of years at Dominion Raceway. So that family thing continues. But there's a great look at that double O car, and that SSI, Service Specialties Incorporated, was a huge sponsor for Danny Fair and took him to a lot of wins at Old Dominion Speedway back in the day. That's what's fun about this.
Yeah, and Ed, you finished talking about Danny Fair, and you know, let's also bring up we only had 2 5-time track champions at Old Dominion. Danny Fair being one of them, Red Skagel being the other 5-time track champion at the Speedway. But you bring back the throwback. So while we're under caution, let's just take a look at the top 3, and you see that 56 car of DJ Powell. That's a throwback to Davey Callahan's car, the Burger King car. So, you know, Davey had a different number on the car, but DJ did the throwback for the Burger King car, so that brings back memories. And, of course, then you've got the Dillon's bus service. I think they had, about 100 cars out there, Scotty, during the time?
150.
Yeah, and they all their cars were pretty much painted the same with the blue and the white, and always good-looking race cars. And then, of course, you got Polens with his championship car in that 33. We'll be talking a lot about these throwback schemes, kind of like the Darlington Raceway throwback that the NASCAR guys did. So
Tyler Payne and the Les Miranda throwback.
Yep, and that and Tyler Payne. Oh, we going green. Let's go green. We'll go back to Ed Pardue. Ed.
Pace truck on pit road, we go back green, and Butterbean leads them down the corner 3 wide. You got Dillon's out there on the outside, and then the 01 machine trying to make some space to the inside. They sort it out down the back straightaway. I tell you what, such a great representation of the Richmond Raceway, because this track is open. It flows everywhere but turn 2. Turn 2 closes in on you. You've got that big V-shaped oval down the front straightaway, but when you get to turn number 2, it locks up on you. You feel like I can go 3 wide into the corner, but 2 will lock up. They did a great job there, and now you see David Polens in a Dillon sandwich there, and then the 83 machine tucked in right behind him. That's some good racing. And now we go in car with David Polens down the front straightaway into turn number 1 at the virtual Richmond Raceway, and down the back straightaway. And then watch as he goes into 3. The track will open back up, and they'll go 3 wide down the front straightaway. But let's stay with David for just a little bit and watch down the front straightaway. Here he is across our finish. Watch how turn 2 tightens up at this racetrack. There's 1, nice flow through there, and then all of a sudden, bam, right there's the wall off turn number 2. That's always been a trouble spot here at Richmond Raceway. Polens now working on Dillon as they come off turn number 4 and put another lap on the board. We've completed 15, make it now 16 of 200 laps here at Richmond Raceway. Let me go back to Scotty Gore for just a second. Scotty, when you watch these cars and you see some of those old paint schemes, it does take you back and makes you kind of say, man, did time fly that fast?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, and it's so cool because, you know, Dave and I only touched on a couple. FDJ's running the Bailey's paint scheme, I believe. I saw the 04 Skyline car that was of Al Daly and Curtis Markham fame. I mean, it's really cool. And Les Miranda's old paint scheme, you know, it's just a lot of cool stuff, man. I'm telling you, this brings back it's like almost, if they could have somehow put Old Dominion on iRacing before it got ripped up, you know, I mean, that would just put the, you know, sauce on the sandwich at that point.
Yeah, you saw the Skyline car there for just a little bit. Won't give too much away. We're going to be talking to some folks here in a little bit that will definitely make you smile. There's a throwback to the Ciccarelli team.
Yes, sir.
Dion Ciccarelli and his brother Ray Ciccarelli. That's Chris Reardon in that machine. Goes back to the Ciccarelli. And Paul, if we get a chance, I don't know if we can, if we could pop up a big top 10 there, we'll run you through the race order here as we've completed 19. There you go, Brendan Queen, Butterbean in the lead, DJ Powell second. Sergio Pena.
Yes.
Now here's a funny tie-in. I still get to work with Sergio because he's one of our trainers that we work with up at Summit Point Raceway. Jeff Dillon gets past him to third. There's Mr. Polanz in the 33. Tyler Hughes. Let's take a second and say, a few years ago, Tyler lost one of the most important members of his team and of his life, and that was his dad, Don Hughes. Tonight would have been Don Hughes' birthday, and so we say happy birthday to Don Hughes. If you want to know what family means at the racetrack, if you were lucky enough to spend some time in the pits and see Tyler and his dad together, just absolutely amazing times. And again, it would have been Don's, what did we say, Dave? 64th birthday. So, Don, I know you're watching, so happy birthday to you. Kevin Dillon there in the 6th, Jeff Dillon 7th. There's David Markham. David Markham representing Curtis Markham. We'll talk a little bit about him a little bit later. Kyle Fowler and Tyler Payne in the 18 car, and he's representing that famous 18 of Les Miranda. There's a look through your top 10 as we've completed lap 23 of 200.
Yeah,
Dave, as you watch, there's the 18 car.
Also, Ed, the 18 with Tyler Payne with the Les Miranda paint scheme on the car, and he's also want to give a shout out. He's racing in memory of Greg Compton, who was a multi-time feature winner at Old Dominion Speedway, and that whole team were very, very close to Greg Compton and his family, and Tyler racing in memory of Greg. And again, a lot of feature win. Oh, got another caution. Sorry about that. But, he's racing in memory of Greg, and we wish Greg was here, but we know that he's watching over Tyler here on this iRacing. And could you imagine Greg Compton in one of these things, guys? I mean, wouldn't it be crazy to have Greg Compton driving one of these iRacing cars?
I'll tell you what, it's funny you mentioned that, because joining us on the line right now is somebody who did a whole lot of laps Old Dominion Speedway with Greg Compton, and Mr. Jeff Young joining us on the line. Jeff, how are you this evening?
Oh, we're doing good.
So, Jeff, you're sitting here watching all these old throwback paint schemes. You are one of those guys that I just consider sort of a bedrock of Old Dominion Speedway. Not only did you race street stocks and late models, but you guys were also involved out there on Friday nights on the drag racing. Jeff, what made that place so special to you?
Well, I heard about it from the time I was about 14 years old. My neighbors used to go down there on Friday night drag race, and they were Ford guys, and I'd help them clean the cars up, and I would, they're getting ready to go at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and you want to go? I'm waiting to hear this. Do you want to go? You want to go? It's like, well, didn't get to go, but I get to hear about it the next day. So the place was always like a mystery to me, and always wanted to see it. Even thought about riding a bicycle to it one time. Didn't even know which direction to head out in, but my buddy and I, let's go, man. We'll ride the bikes. He goes, man, will take us a couple days, So anyway, finally got to see it. Actually from the road when I was like 18 years old, working for my buddy doing when I went by, and I went, man, can we turn around and go back by and look at it? Yeah. So I went back by and looked at it, and so I actually never attended a race there till a stock car race. My first wife's husband, uncle, was Sonny Ratcliffe, who had a late model sportsman car, and he had pretty good business, and had good equipment and stuff, but he just wasn't that good behind the wheel, and he put Danny Collins in it, and it just kind of snowballed from that, when the street stocks came along, and running a drag car over on the drag strip on Friday night, and but drove a 6-cylinder car one day up there in practice, and man, it was just it. I was hooked.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're hooked from there. I know it's impossible to do. Pick me the one night at Old Dominion Speedway that you'll never forget. You got to pick one.
I'm sorry?
I said you got to pick one. Pick one night that you say, you know what? That's my night that I'll never forget.
I think it was the night that I ran my first race. It was back in 1980. We had started that year, and in fact, I told Dickie to announce that the car was for sale, and all the guys that used to help me, their buddies and their girlfriends, it was the last race of the year, and they said, well, we're going to go to the beach. We're not going to go to the races. And so, but good old Joe, he stuck with me. He stuck right by my side, and he timed me out there in practice. He said, well, he says, you're the fifth fastest. He said, so everything goes okay, no trouble. The worst we can do tonight is fifth. Well, anyways, we won the heat race, and I was like totally blown away by just winning the heat race. And then we won the feature. We won our first race, and I always, no big deal, 6-cylinder car, you're racing 6 cylinders and stuff, but I tell people, hey, the guy I had to beat that night, I said, you ever watch the NASCAR races on TV? I said, you see in all the seats, Butler-built seats. I said, the guy I had to battle for 25 laps around there was Brian Butler, who used to race there, who went on to, as we know now, is a big part of NASCAR, racing. So, so the next morning, a couple of the guys called, and they wanted to know, hey, how'd you do last night? They went to the beach, and so I was laying there in bed and talking on the phone, and I was like, well, wait a minute. So I got up, and I went over and got my pants, and old Pete Gore, when you got paid, they give you the cash money in that little envelope, and it had marked on there what place you were in and how much money you got. And so I said, hold on, let me check. So I went over and reached in my pants pocket, and I pulled that envelope out, and heat race, first place, $10. Feature winner, first place, $75. But Edwin, it wasn't about the money. It was when you could win a race and pull up on that front straightaway. And of course, we didn't have you then to come down and interview us. You just stood there and you got your picture taken, or if Carl came down out of the stands early, Carl Simmons, he'd hand you the checkered flag. And that moment when you get that flag in your hand and you drive around that track, and you're nobody special, but that night you were the big dog. You were the guy that they had to beat, and you were the big dog. And you climb out, and you stand there, and you get your picture taken in front of all those people in the stands, and it's just a great feeling that money can't buy that.
It's you can't replace that. Jeff, hold on for just a second here. Dave, I see Tony Fowler. We went back green and back to caution real quick. What happened to Tony Fowler? He's on pit road.
Yeah, it looks like him and the 77 car got together. If it's my call, the 05 came down on the 77. 77 was holding his line. So, of course, in Old Dominion days, they'd both go to the back. But it looks like one car is going to pit, the other guy's going to stay where he's at. So, a little bit different rules here at Richmond International, but that's okay. It's iRacing. We're here to have fun and have a good time, and you got to play by the rules.
You got to play by the rules. There's Trevor Collins in the 77. I remember him just a little kid out there in the bandos at Old Dominion Speedway.
We've actually got. You talk about the bandos, Ed. We've actually got two drivers that I see right off the bat that are past Bandolero track champions. Trevor Collins being one, and Jonathan Finley being the other.
There you go. Let me jump back in with Jeff Young. Jeff, real quick, we're going to let you go here in a second. You got to do something cool because you were one of those guys that got to drive a race car and then later joined Mike Neville up in the booth and do some commentating. What was that like when you were able to trade your racing gloves in for a microphone?
Well, it was pretty cool because, like, my wife and I, Lisa, we watch the races on TV, and, you know, I'd see stuff that, you know, on a car, like, somebody's left front tires, and I said, man, so-and-so's left front tires going down, you know, and they haven't even noticed it on TV yet. And then Larry McReynolds or whoever's announcing goes, hey, and so-and-so's left front tires going down, and she always said, well, you want to be an announcer, you know, and so then the one day you called me and asked me to do that, I said no, but then it flashed back in my head. I said, you know what? She told me that I'm going to try it, and I loved it. It was great to be up there and be able to, you know, give people information and stuff about it, and it was a really cool time. And one of the coolest parts of it was my sister would watch the races on whatever night they came on Verizon on TV, and so she called me up one night, and she said, Jeff, you watch your races on TV? And I said, no. I said, I don't watch them. She said, they're from Old Dominion. She said, but you know it's crazy or weird? I said, what's that? She goes, there's two guys. She said, you never see them, but they do the announcing. And she said, one guy's name's Mike, and the other guy's name's Jeff. And the guy's name's Jeff, and he sounds just like you. You know? And I said, hey, it is me, you know. And after that, people in our office started watching. And next thing you know, there was a little group of them coming to the races. So it was all a cool time.
Good. Yeah, those are good times, and when you look back on them, a big smile on your face. Jeff Young, thank you so much for joining us. One of the names that made Old Dominion Speedway famous. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the broadcast. Delighted to have you on board.
I sure do appreciate it.
Good night, man. Jeff Young, there's one that you know, just you look back at it and just absolute pleasure. All right, Scotty Gore, this is kind of looking like a race you might be in because everybody keeps wrecking each other. What's going on out there? We're under caution again.
Why's it got to be me? I mean, you know, in the U-car days, we always live with the adage that 8 tires are better than 4 when you go in the corner. But I'm going to throw something else at you and Dave. You have not done this without having a driver in the same room as you have. I've had to mute my mic for most of this because old boy gets a little excited over there.
Yeah, listen. I love David Polans. Controlling his emotions is probably not one of his better attributes.
And no. I'm gonna add into this, and I'm kind of gonna tongue in cheek this a little bit, but you know, you got to be careful what you say on iRacing these days, guys.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going any farther than that.
I brought my boys with me tonight, and I'm certain their vocabulary is getting extended a little bit this evening.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey, Scotty, when you hear, you know, we had Joe Prescott on, we hear Jeff Young, we got some more voices that are going to pop up in a little bit that'll make you smile. When you look back on that, are you like me when we were kids? Those names, like for you, it was probably Curtis Markham and Charlie Ford. For me, it was like Reds Cagle and Bobby Valentine. Do you remember now that they were just these larger than life people? They were like some sort of like movie star in our little world.
Oh, absolutely, man. When I was a kid, my favorite driver, and my mom tells me that one night I cried because I asked to go home to his house and they wouldn't let me go, but it was Dickie Boswell back in the day. And
well,
I mean,
that was smart. That was smart.
That makes a lot of sense because I wouldn't have let you go home with Boswell either.
Ed's got his paper up again.
Yeah. Hey guys, Wes is here.
Go ahead, Wes.
Oh, sorry, guys.
Hey guys, just a quick word.
Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. Okay, so the 83 of Tyler Hughes was actually given an EOLL, their end of longest line penalty. The reason being was the failure to hold pace. It was a rule that was posted that if you fail to keep pace during the pacing laps, you will get a end of longest line penalty for whatever it may be. So that's why the 83 is going to the back.
He's probably sounding a lot like David Polens right about now too, I'm sure.
Doing all I can, guys.
Andy's radioing to Paul Green, his team over, going, Paul, wreck everybody for me.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Well,
Scotty,
no, they talk about that. They're not going to wreck anybody here.
Go back to your story of Dickie Boswell because that intrigues me and frightens me.
Yeah, well, he was my favorite driver at the time, man, and and I wanted to go, hang out with him. I wanted to go be able to spend, a week at his house or whatever. But mom and dad snubbed it. So
Scott, I gotta believe that was an interesting conversation when you said your racing hero was Dickie Boswell, being the son of Dick Gore. I would have loved to have been there in that room when you said that.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dave, and as you probably know just as well as I do, I grew up as a Bill Elliott fan, okay? I like Bill Elliott. He was my Cup hero, right? So when I became a flagman, it really changes your perspective on things because you get to watch the driver's hands coming out of the corner.
Yes, you do.
You got to watch Mark McFarland dip all 4 tires going into one. You got to watch Andreas Kesterman come out and kiss the wall every lap.
Every single lap, yep.
I mean, it made me appreciate a driver. And I know we're getting ready to go back to green, so I'll keep this kind of short. But after that, I started liking Dale Earnhardt, and you talked about a switch from night to day, from Bill Elliott to Dale Earnhardt Sr., because that man could take a car that was 70% and make it 90.
Yeah. And I want to back up a little bit the Boswell story. I want to make sure I clear this up because I'm sure Boswell, being a Golden Gloves guy, he'd probably seek me out somewhere and take me out. But I want to make sure that Boswell, and there's no hard feelings here, Dick. It's just back in the day, sometimes you and Dick didn't see eye to eye on a few things, and I just wanted to make sure that we're making light of that whole situation. And just everything's cool. Everything's cool, Dickie. We still love you, buddy.
Let's go back to racing here at Virtual Richmond Raceway. Brendan Queen in the lead right now. There's Sergio Pena. There's your leader going down the front straightaway. Pena in the 01 car. DJ Powell still there in third spot. Powell started on the pole. He's been strong all night. Queen's been good. Sergio Pena, want to talk about an interesting person, drives currently in the late models for, talk about colorful character. Yeah, his car owner is one of the best in the business. But Sergio also is a road course instructor and works for Aston Martin. That dude travels all over the world doing events for Aston Martin. So Sergio Pena riding second right now in the 01.
Ed, I'm going to have to break in, Ed. The smoke detector just went off in Palenza's house. I think his car's running hot. I think old Ed might have locked up on us a little bit.
Yeah, he did. Looks like we lost Ed. Of course, I talked to Ed about this. We kind of joked about it yesterday. Yeah, we were talking about your internet connection, Ed, and we talked about that yesterday, being out there in Fredericksburg, that you've still got a couple of cups with fishing line for internet out there, so it breaks down every once in a while.
I do. It's a very, very sad situation. Hey, guys, I've got another name for you joining us on the broadcast here as we watch, again, Queen leading Pena and DJ Powell. If you make a list of names that made up the history of Old Dominion Speedway, there's a lot of names on that, but no one would leave this name off the list. Joining us right now is, he is legendary. One of the guys I just grew up loving, Curtis Markham. Curtis, welcome to the broadcast.
Glad to be here. Enjoyed watching the race. And I really enjoyed the Dickie Boswell story.
Curtis, when you go back, and this is so much fun, we're seeing some of these throwback, but what's so funny is what's ancient history to DJ Powell. He's doing a throwback to Davey Callahan when we remember that the young kid was Jeff Callahan, who was the son-in-law of, so everybody's history is a little bit different. When you go back, talk about your first trip to Old Dominion.
Well, it's a long time ago, but first time I ran Old Dominion Speedway was with John Lahaki in the 27 Ford.
Yep.
I ran in, I think it was 1982, when the first time Dickie had the late model stock cars there. Wasn't that 1982?
79 was the first year.
And I think I ran there in 82 and 83 with John Lahaki. And after that, I started with Robert Burton and Al Brennan in the orange 55 car. So we always loved going to Old Dominion Speedway. The fans were great. Track was great. I might have been in Dickie Gore's office quite a few times after the race, but we always had a good time there.
Curtis, we talked about, it's so funny you mentioned that. I shared with the guys earlier, hanging in my garage here at the house is a orange 55 door off of one of Robert's car with the name Curtis on the side, which somehow I got one night at the racetrack. So I still have a Curtis Markham late model stock car door hanging at my house. That's probably, I mean, you know, Denny might even offer me some money for that one.
He may offer you some money for that. You know, that was a long time ago. But we had a good time there with Robert Burton. He always had good cars. And after I stopped driving Robert's 55 car, Charlie Ford drove it, won a lot of races also when I moved to the Skyline Crane 4 car. Oh, but between that was the 88 car, the Landworks car. We won quite a few races in that also.
You know, you look back, had it not been for that Landworks car, years and years later, the BK Racing Cup team probably never would have occurred had it not been for that Landworks car.
Yeah, Ron Devine was the sponsor on the Landworks car, the 88 car. And then he became a good friend. Even when I went to the Skyline Crane car, Ron would help us crew-wise on that car. And we would travel with the Skyline Crane car all over the place, and Ron would come help on it. He was a great friend and still is.
Folks, you're listening to Curtis Markham as we're under caution with 60 laps complete out of 200. Brendan Queen, Sergio Pena, DJ Powell, your top three. Curtis, obviously everybody's aware of the work you've done now in the Cup Series. You know, you went up, you did great success up with the Busch North Series, and then you ran for Hubert Hensley, and then you started working with the Cup Series. And so you might have a good handle on some of this simulation racing, whether it's iRacing or other simulators. A lot of the young drivers really rely on this type of racing to learn some of these new tracks, don't they?
Yes, they do. Most recently, I worked with Ty Gibbs, who is Corey Gibbs' son, or Joe Gibbs' grandson, who is coming up through the series. I worked with him in the late model stock cars for 2 years until he moved up into the ARCA series, where he is now. And he has a simulator at the shop. He runs iRacing, and basically after school, that's his job. And he probably runs on that 3 or 4 hours a day, different tracks. And it has really helped him in his racing to learn how to save tires and stuff. So it's an amazing thing.
It is, and we never would have thought of it even, 15 years ago. We're on lap 62. We're under caution here at the virtual Richmond Raceway. Curtis, before we let you go, give me one great memory from Old Dominion Speedway. You got to pick one. It can be a good one or a bad one. Give me one before we let you go.
There are so many great memories at Old Dominion Speedway. Can't just pick one. From all the teams I drove for there, whether it was John Lockey, Robert Burton, and Al Grennan, Ken Curley in the 88 car, or Richard McSpadden in the 4 car, we always won races. Oh yeah, and I drove for Nick Pappas a couple times there also. Had a great time. There's a lot of good competition running against Danny Fair, Dickie Boswell. It's just so much fun. Eddie Johnson. It's probably not one thing I can think of that would be my favorite thing, because there was so many favorite things.
And that's the thing about that place, the tapestry of that racetrack. It is hard to pull apart those individual threads and pick a night, because we look back on it and it's such a great memory. Curtis, thank you for joining us tonight.
To be there, that's where I met my wife. And her 32nd anniversary is Thursday, so happy
anniversary. Curtis, thank you for joining us. We do appreciate it. And again, there's so many names that if you started writing down names with the history of Old Dominion Speedway, there would be so many, but there is not a single person whose list would not include the name of Curtis Markham. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Edwin. Look forward to it.
Thank you, brother.
Bye-bye.
All right, we're getting ready to go green. And guys, that's about as cool as you get right there with Curtis Markham. Pace truck is on pit road. Brendan Queen leads him to the line. But Dave, that and Scotty both, that will almost bring a tear to your eye.
Yeah, Curtis was awesome, man. He was another one of my favorites growing up, and just a first class guy. Always treated everybody with respect. I don't think I ever saw him get mad. I mean, I'm certain there was a time or two that I might not have seen, but always first class with their deal. And Robert Burton. I'll tell you who else we haven't mentioned tonight, Ed, is Roger Austin, because he was a big part of all of our, in junior coming up. But Roger Sr. was a major player in the late model ranks.
So I had one of my favorite nights ever at Old Dominion. I can't remember if he was running the Legends car then or a late model or whatever, was when, and we've got another caution, but was when Roger Austin Jr. was there racing. And one night, Roger Jr. and I got to talking about how, the SSI car got a little trouble there. That's bringing up his caution.
JJ was in it too. He's going to the office.
Yeah.
So Roger Austin
Don't get me
Jr.
started on JJ.
Roger and I got to talking one night about how much back in the days, like the late 70s, early 80s, that our dads freaking hated each other. They had both come out of the street stocks, moved up to late models at the same time, and just flipping, there's nobody that my dad wanted to beat more than Roger Austin, and Roger was just tickled to death when he beat Dad. And Roger Jr. and I just got the biggest laugh out of that one night, and years later nobody cares, but that was a big deal back then. Yeah. I see JJ down there in the 6 car. Did he get some damage there, Dave?
Yeah, it looks like he caught the inside wall. JJ's kind of struggling a little bit tonight. He's driving tonight like he used to drive my parts truck when he was working for me in the auto parts store. I'm gonna have to. I fired JJ twice when he was working for me, and I don't know who his car owner is tonight. They did fire him for a 3rd time, I think. So
I think my driver's telling me that he's going to get penalized. So
yeah, well, he should be getting penalized. I don't even know why, but he should be. I think
he doesn't even get it shaken out. He just gets the full black flag.
Hey, I do want to ask though, these starts, they're a little bit questionable, Scott. And I think if you've been watching the starts while Ed's been talking to him, like I don't know, that 03 car been passing that pace truck a lot tonight. And that's against the rules. I know it's under caution, but he's not supposed to be passing the pace car. But that last start was a jump.
Well, Dad already said he wanted him in his office at the end of the night.
Okay, well, then everything's taken control. Like right now, you shouldn't be doing it. Now, another thing I want to mention too, that caution we had a couple cautions ago with the blue car, and it's something that I've noticed on about 3 cautions so far, and they've all been kind of caused by the same thing. Those cars, and we talk about how great the software is and how they build how these cars actually handle like real race cars and all this, that, and the other. But for about third caution that I've seen tonight, these cars are going down to the corner and hooking that yellow line with the left side tires, and it's turning these cars. These guys are trying to go to the inside, but they're hooking that corner down there, and that's getting the car upset. So one other thing that they built into this software, that these cars handle a lot like a real race car.
Dave, I was thinking the exact same thing. They go down the corner, and you're thinking, oh, I can go even lower. And what you don't realize is you lose all of the banking. So you see that blue car right there. Once you're below that yellow line in the corner, you lose all the banking. You're exactly right. iRacing puts that into their system. So if you go below that line, it's not the yellow line, but just if you go below where the banking is, it is going to upset the race car, and it is absolutely perfect. And if you know the Richmond Raceway, that difference between the banking and that bottom apron, it's pretty dramatic. So good.
Hey guys, just a quick word for you to clear something up for you guys if you got a chance here.
Go ahead, Rowdy.
So you saw the, I believe the David Markham driver going around the pace car multiple times. Well, they have a rule here where if you disconnect from the server, they will give you all but 2 laps back. So that's why you saw him driving around over and over again around the.
Thank you. And then, of course, we were just talking to Curtis Markham a moment ago. There's David representing in the Skyline. That was one of the cars that Curtis was talking about. You remember Curtis Markham, if I go 55, 88, and the 4 car. And then there's David Markham representing Curtis in that 04 machine. Closing in on halfway here. And again, Brenda Green. And I don't know, a lot of you guys, if you guys know.
Oh, now that start, that was a start.
Great guy.
Yeah, Dave, we're gonna have to give him on a stop.
I think we're gonna throw the caution down the back straightaway. No, that's a caution down the back straightaway.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Hey, cool story. And living down here in North Carolina, David Markham runs at a local little kart track, little dirt track that is real close to us called Millbridge Speedway. It's a little hole in the wall dirt track, and you can see him running karts there. And it looks like we had trouble again.
Who is that sideways? Oh, right in the corner.
Friends might have sent him. I think because he's over here hollering. I don't know what's going on.
We're going to get the replay right here. So you just tell Polens he needs to chill because we're going to. Polens isn't even around him. So Polens must have hit somebody else.
He must have ran into.
He crashed somebody else. Yeah.
I'm telling you guys, you need to do this with a driver in your room with you because it just changes everything.
I'm sure it does.
Hey, so Scotty, I want to throw.
Ed, hold on a second. Let's see what's going on here with Wilkerson. He got up there in the corner a little high there. It looks like everything's going well. Look like a 25 car might have clipped him.
Cole Bruce in the 25.
Just like Robert. Get him in the corner there, just like Robert.
Oh, now Robert's going to be sending you hate mail.
Oh, here you go, Dave. Making friends.
Robert's a good guy. I like Robert.
All right.
We're having a good time tonight.
We're under caution once again.
Polens hit the other 77. That's probably what he was yelling at.
That's why he was getting excited.
Yeah, that's
why
he was getting mad. Yeah.
Those guys are a mess. Hey, so Scotty, I'm going to throw something at you. So here we are. We're watching iRacing on virtual Richmond Raceway, and it's these, the late model stock cars. And you look back and you say, man, that's a division that my dad created. There's a lot of pride there, isn't there?
It absolutely is. Now, of course, and especially since you just had Curtis on here, the cars that my dad came up with the help of Bobby Darn and all the other people that helped him do that at that time, they were different, a lot different. I mean, you didn't just go out and buy 20 different control arms or shocks and stuff like that. They were really the innovators back then because they had to make chicken salad out of not so much chicken good stuff. You know what I mean? I mean, it was a lot, and that's why I enjoyed the U cars because you weren't allowed to do anything to them. You had to get creative.
Oh yeah, Scott, tell us all about that. You couldn't do anything with them. Yeah, tell us all about that.
Scotty would get very creative. So let's go back to the very beginning of those late model stock cars. Our next guest on the air with us. This will take you back a little bit. The original late model stock car champion from Old Dominion Speedway, Billy Earl on the line. Billy, welcome to the broadcast.
Hi, Edwin. How are you doing?
Well, I am doing well. So Billy Earl, we're just talking about, the history. So it's so weird. Here we are watching this computer iRacing, and we go back to where it all started with that very first late model stock car championship. You got to work with one of my favorite guys in the world, Don Stanley. Talk about that, because you guys really were, the late model sportsman was the deal, and you guys were sort of the, pardon the phrase, the bastard stepchild of the late model sportsman. And now look what it is. What did you think of it back in the late 70s?
Well, when it happened, we had been racing street stock, and we had done fairly well. But when it came time to either keep doing that or move up, moving up to the late model sportsman was not an option. Those cars were very expensive, even in those days. And when Dickie came up with the late model stock class, it was just perfect timing for us. And Don had started helping me a couple of years before that when I got hurt. I think he felt sorry for me. The car got T-boned, and he said, just bring the car over here and we'll fix it. And the car was like a boomerang, so it meant we got another car. But anyway, that's when we started working together, and we just built the cars and went out there and raced every week. And in those days, it was fairly cheap. And when we built the late model stock car, it was about a tenth as much as a sportsman car would have cost, which was a big deal for us. And with Don, the rules were very restrictive, which was good for us because you couldn't just write a check. You had to build stuff. And that's all Don had ever done his whole life. He just built stuff. He never spent any money on these cars. And so when we come up with the late model stock car, the next thing you know, we're running as good as anyone. And so each time they had a rules meeting to allow more stuff, we always voted against it. And eventually it evolved into an expensive division, which they all do. It's like a cycle. But at first, it was just great. We built the car in Don's garage, and we built the motor in Don's garage, other than the machine work. Jimmy Mayers did my machine work, and we went to the racetrack and we did good most of the time.
Most of the time, you guys did real good.
Those days, you could just build a car and go to the racetrack, and you didn't need 6 or 8 corporate sponsors on the car just to make it to the gate. It was you can't go back in time. But it was, if it hadn't been for that class at that time, we would have either stayed as street stock or gone up.
On Payling, who come back Green Flag Racing 80 Scooty in 200. Brendan Queen has been great on these restarts, but you see a whole lot of action back there. For Bailey's car, there's the
FDG
throwback car. So great racing behind them. Some good racing here. So it's Queen and Al and Pena, 1, 2, and 3. Hey, you on the broadcast tonight? Some of the young Dillon kids are on there. We got a couple cars. They're all painted up in familiar dark blue and white bus service colors of racing. When you came back with the Dillon's guys, talk about that later on in your career.
Right. Well, we raced my car for maybe 3 or 4 years, and I finally got fed up with the politics, and it was getting more expensive. And so I sold the car and bought a sailboat. But it wasn't long before Dudley Phelps had me back in his car. And that got me out there, and when his car blew up, I was able to, had an opportunity to get into the Dillon car. And they were great people. I didn't know them, but they had good stuff. And they were able to, they didn't just throw money at it. They were smart, but they could afford to buy what we needed.
Man, and how so cool is it? Here's Billy Earl talking with us about driving with the Dillon's team, and we're watching a couple of the Dillon's cars right there on screen right now in this virtual race at Richmond. All right, Bill, before I let you go, and I've asked everybody this. I just had Curtis Markham on. Pick one night, pick one best memory from Old Dominion Speedway.
That's the thing I remember is tonight that your brother after the races, and this was cold. This was early in the season, so it was cold out there. I'm talking maybe 40s or 50s. He was little, and he ran across the track and vaulted over the inside wall and went right into a 50-gallon drum of water. And I haven't stopped laughing since then, and that was, I can't remember how long ago that was.
That was a few years ago. I figured that might be the one that you would tell.
This stuff up.
Folks, again, we'll say, if you write the history of Old Dominion Speedway and you want to be inclusive, you don't write that history without writing down the name of Billy Earl and Don Stanley. Billy, thanks for being on the broadcast tonight.
Saying without Don, he was the best.
He was. All right, brother, have a good night. Thank you so much.
Have a good one,
Guys, that's, I mean, you don't get any cooler than that.
We keep losing Ed there. I thought
know,
you were talking,
man.
Ed. We keep losing him. You know, it's that Fredericksburg internet. He puts the telephone call on the internet and it messes him all up. So,
And
hey,
someone,
Scott, that start was a lot better. So the 03 must be listening to the broadcast.
okay, well, also someone online had asked what happened to Ryan Polens, and I got it from the driver in the room that Ryan, also in Fredericksburg, Virginia, somehow lost internet service. It kicked him off. But
it's where we live.
Yeah, where's a common thread here?
yeah, right.
Yeah. No, guys, I was just going to say real quick. I said, you don't get any cooler than that. Than you're chatting with Billy Earl and watching the two virtual Dillon's cars on track. That's a kind of a cool throwback.
Absolutely, man.
Oh, I've
And
enjoyed the
Dillon-
interviews. I think the interviews are cool.
Yeah, absolutely. The Dillons do a lot of iRacing stuff, man. A lot of
Yeah.
super late model, asphalt super late model stuff, and as well as Chris Reardon, the guy that's driving the Dion Ciccarelli throwback.
Hey, Scotty, well, we have a second. If we have a caution, we'll jump back in. Let's talk a little bit. We appreciate your time here tonight. Talk a little bit about what's coming up this year with the PDRA.
Well, I'm really stoked. We finally get to go to our first show at the end of this month here, the last weekend of May. It'll be at Galat Motorsports Park in Benson, North Carolina. No fans, but as we do with all of our races, they'll be on Speed Video. So, and I think you have to subscribe to it, but all of our races will be online. You can watch them, and I'm really expecting a monstrous crowd of pro mods because of the fact that nobody's been racing all year. They've all been saving their money. There was a few shows before the pandemic or whatever, but they've all been cooped up, and this is one of the first events that's going to be out there for them to come compete in. So we're really stoked about it, man, and look for a great turnout.
David, have you guys heard yet at Winchester Speedway when you guys might be back up and running?
Well, like I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, Greg is in kind of a interesting situation because he's got a track in Maryland, he's got a track in Virginia, so he's kind of monitoring both things. And so at this point, I'm hearing some rumbles about, they're already starting to put in place some policies that are going to pertain to, this whole virus and the way it's transferred and all that. I mean, all the way down to bring your own pen when you sign in at the sign-in gate. I mean, it's that type of thing that they're already thinking about. So apparently, based on, and I'm sure Greg is watching this thing, and Denise and everybody are watching this thing in both states, looking at it, and they're putting this thing together and just waiting for them to say, okay, we can do this, and so they're working on this now rather than try to be reactive, be proactive and be ready. So when they say, okay, let's throw some green flag racing, let's do it, they're going to be ready for it. So I haven't heard any dates. Everybody keeps saying June, July. Some people saying August. A lot of these small tracks, depending on the state, again, it's varying from state to state. Some tracks are saying, hey, we're not going to race at all in 2020. Some people are saying we might have 6 races at the end of the year. I think it's going to vary, with this whole mess going on. It's going to vary from the state.
Well, I know at Summit Point, like I mentioned, we're able to do some small testing right now, but we're hoping by the time we get into June, we've got a SCCA Mid-Atlantic Road Racing Series event, which is a huge, multi-state event. So we're hoping to get back to that sometime in June. And I know I spoke with JD right down at Dominion Raceway. They may be looking maybe later May when they can actually start doing some events. So it's coming, but we just have to be patient. There's JJ Pack in that bright blue car. And
Hey, we just hit halfway, Ed. Yeah, halfway.
Yes, he did. JJ Pack starting to make his way. Was all the way at the back end of the field. He's trying to work his way back up. And we have a caution here just past halfway. Brendan Queen, Powell, and now Jeff Dillon is up to third. And I believe, Scotty Gore, is that your driver involved? No, it's not. Okay.
Okay, man. Let's no. Trust me. The seat's still in place. The monitor, the steering wheel hasn't gone through the window.
Yeah,
but,
I was going to say I didn't hear anything in the background of Scott's microphone. So
trust me. And I'm here to tell you the grumblings that I hear him out of one ear talking about is some of these guys are concerned about fuel consumption. I'm not certain how far they can go or what the deal is. I know that David already went down pit road at one point to Polenz to get fuel, but I'm not certain everybody else has. So
yeah, let's jump in. Let's check in. Wes Rowdy Hogue, are you there? Give us some insight on fuel consumption here on iRacing. Oh, I was just saying, hey, Wes, just checking. Guys are talking about fuel consumption. Could you give us a little insight on fuel consumption here in this iRace? We're just past halfway.
Well, we just had a driver run out of fuel in the 55. He ran out of fuel of Al Anderson. I believe the 70 of Jonathan Finley, or of I'm sorry, not the 70, the 077 of Scott Wilkerson was showing some fuel issues, as well as a couple others. So 100 laps is right there on the limit, even with the cautions that we had. You're not getting a whole heck of a lot of fuel mileage in these cars in this race. So you will see fuel will play a factor, as well as this is the only time these guys get a chance to change tires. So they're taking advantage of that right now.
So guys are on pit road making a change. So you'll see them come back off pit road. We'll try to give you, we get a second here, Paul, we'll maybe do a full field rundown if we can once they coming off pit road. And there you go. I believe the 33. Did I say?
Yeah, it looked like he was going a little fast on pit road. If you ask me, I was just looking at that.
He just about flipped his chair over.
Yeah, that's probably what happened. So hey Ed, let's talk about this.
Yes.
Let's talk about what the race officials just said, and think about what we just talked about. You asked the question about fuel. We had 2-3 cars or something like that run out of fuel with all of those caution laps that we ran in the first half of the race. Now, what happens if we get a long green flag lap? How many cars are going to be able to make it to the end?
Yeah, they play the strategy in just like a regular race. Let's go through real quick. So there's David Polenz. Hey, I don't know, Scotty, what'd your driver do on pit road? Did he take no tires?
He took tires, man. He was hollering at his pit crew on the radio, telling them, let's go. Billy Earl working the gun, Brian Groupie working the jack, man. He had them all going right there.
He sounded like Cole Trickle. Let's go.
They weren't eating ice cream.
Tyler Hughes up to the third, DJ Powell fourth, Cole Bruce there to fifth. You see Butterbean in sixth spot, Fowler, Dillon, and there's your man, Scotty, Frank Daney Jr.
Brendan Queen's pit crew didn't do him any favors on pit road, did they?
He took a chassis adjustment, I'm sure, Dave.
Yeah, well, he didn't need one. He was stomping everybody. He definitely didn't need a chassis adjustment. I wouldn't have touched it.
Let me give a shout out to my buddy Ryan Ellis there. Ryan's a neat guy. He's driven everything from Legends cars at Old Dominion to he's one of the only guys I know that has a trophy from Daytona International. There's Ryan Ellis. Did stock car stuff. He's done some cup stuff. He went and ran in the IMSA series, the Rolex series. He's got himself a winning trophy from Daytona. That's my buddy Ryan Ellis. All right, guys, let me ask you this question. So let's say it's those last 10 or 15 years at Old Dominion Speedway, and you've got a young driver or a car. You're not sure what to do with the car, how to make it faster. Who would you take that race car to model better?
Well, Scott, I'm going to just say it depends on if you want it legal or not.
Well, hey, I mean, you know, there's gray area.
No, this
Yes,
would have been
there
legal. Yeah, this would have been a legal car. You've taken it to somebody and said, help me set this car up. Who would it have been?
I don't know what's going to happen here.
There's a couple people that come to mind to me, Dave.
Yeah.
Rick Townsend.
Oh, yeah.
Greg Oliver.
Uh-huh.
I mean, a bunch of different folks.
Yeah, there was a bunch of them out there. I was kind of joking around with that whole legality thing because, I mean, you know, we played by the rules at Old Dominion. I will never forget it. I'm not going to mention any names, and I know there's going to be some people listening that probably remember this conversation because it wasn't very it was very loud conversation by somebody who yelled a lot at Old Dominion Speedway, and he looked at one other guy and he says, "I know you're cheating because I'm cheating and I can't beat you." I will never forget when he said that, and I'm going to leave it nameless, but that was one of the best terms that I've ever heard.
I can't believe you'd mention him.
I remember in this.
What do you mean? I didn't say any names.
Yeah, but Ray Charles can see who you're talking about, buddy. I think Edwin's on the Fredericksburg Internet.
Yeah,
again.
he is. He must have got another phone call because he can't handle both at the same time.
That thing's awesome, man.
Hey, look at Palen's. Okay, Scott, it's up to me and you now. Ed's kind of frozen, so it's going to be me and you, bub. So it looks like the throwback 33 of David Palen's against the throwback Jimmy Harden, number 7 of Eric Jones, Tyler Hughes, and a throwback 83. Well, not a throwback. He's still running that car. And then a throwback number 83 or 56 of DJ Powell. Your top 4 looks like they're going down the back straight, getting ready to take the green. Let's watch his start.
Yeah, and I can imagine I might have to hit the mute button here.
Yes.
People.
10-4.
Dave, talk about that when you guys were working on those cars because you became the man.
Eric in the stand currently. I'm afraid to talk strategy in the stand.
I told you he got another phone call, yeah, Scott.
You're right.
Can you hear Eric?
A professional course, I try to do stuff on my own, kind of like Dad did, you know, just scrape along and try to do the best we could. You learn quite a few things along the way, and then got himself some parts, and then had a few guys ask about doing some work on their cars. The next thing you know, we're actually doing quite a bit of work and learning more about setups and finally started getting some cars around the track, you know, and a little bit of success.
Hey, Dave, what was it that you learned behind the wheel of the race car that you were able to, when you started building these cars and set these cars up as ready to go back green? One guy you might know, David Palenz, is going to lead them back to the restart here. But what did you learn driving a race car that helped you then set these cars up?
The biggest thing is, you know, when you're driving, you know the car's tight, you know the car's loose, you know what the feel is in your front, you know about the braking forces, you know, as far as what you brake to use and not to use, and then what you're trying to work with.
All right, Dave,
Yep,
I think Ed's gone, and we have piled them up, man.
We have wadded them up coming out of 4. Let's see, or out of 2. Let's see. I know we got one of the Dillon boys.
I think my boy FDJ got.
Yeah, I think he got a piece of that. Let's see. I mean, they're all close here. Let's see how this goes. Looks like, well, I'm kind of looking at the 77, maybe. No.
I don't know. Let's see.
No.
Here we go. Sergio's going to clip him, I bet. Yep.
Yeah, sir. Looks like Sergio might have got. Oh, and he's going to turn him into my guy, the 52 car. Turns him. And here comes your boy Danny.
Yep. And there's Tyler Payne. Hopefully he'll sneak by.
Yeah, he snuck by. The 05's not quite as lucky.
I got screwed on getting single file restarts, so because
he got a little piece of it there, Scott.
Yeah.
I think he'll be all right. I
don't think he'll need the OS just quite yet.
No, he don't want to use it on that one. Not yet. No. Not with 80 some odd laps to go. I think he needs to hold on to that. Looks like no worse for the wear for everybody, but took out a lot of cars.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. I'm certain they could have wadded up quite a bit of stuff right there, you know.
Yeah.
But, I think
Oh, that's the first blimp cam I've seen all
Check
night.
that out,
kinda,
baby.
yeah, man, it kind of caught
that's
me off
similar.
guard.
We had a few of them at Manassas, blimp cams. You know.
Yes, we did. We did.
I'll be honest, I got nothing for 83 cars, so yeah.
See, now I hear David in the background. And I'm sure everybody can hear David in the background saying and giving out all of his secrets. I ain't got nothing for the 83 car. Why would he say that? You know, he
Well,
knows-
yeah, he's up here, and we're in Mooresville, and I'm pretty certain that
Try to stay calm.
Hood knows who he is.
Up
And
5 feet.
uh-oh.
The calmer you are going into it, as you're
It's
as
still
your,
talking. He didn't even know he was
emotion-
offline.
you're able to then kind of keep it in check and help you be a better racer, doesn't it?
Yes, you stay a lot more focused and try to accomplish what you're trying to run down
Oh, I
and
lost
make your
my screen,
passes
bub.
and moves.
Same here.
10-4.
Yeah. Before we let you go,
Single plow.
somebody who wants
It's draining all the internet from us.
it can be expensive and a lot of work. What's the one thing that they need to understand? What's the payback? What's the joy in that?
Well, that's so tough. I mean, there's so much that goes into building a car, from money to the time you got to spend, the things you give up to achieve it. But it's so much enjoyment when you get out there and you run good and you do good. It's just really rewarding, you know?
I don't think
know if that's the right answer or
No.
not, but
No, it makes sense. Listen, there's nobody that has more fun at the racetrack than Dave Moon. Dave, thanks for joining us on the broadcast. We got 114 laps complete in this 200-lap race. We're going to get back to the virtual Richmond Raceway, but thank you for joining us.
thanks for having this and putting this on. I appreciate it.
One of the best. Dave Moon, thank you so much, guys. There a little bit, but hopefully you heard a lot of that because Dave Moon became one of the go-to guys for young racers like David Polens, who leads this thing right now, leaned on David Moon a whole lot early in his career.
Looks like they're still trying to get them lined up down the back straightaway there. David Polens still, it's interesting. We've got less than 100 laps to go, and we've got the kind of the young. Well, back when they were racing at Old Dominion, they kind of got the young bucks, we called them back then, up front with Polens and Tyler Hughes. Those guys definitely traded some sheet metal back when they were with us, right, Scott?
Oh yeah, just a few times, and I mean they had some great races, I would say, throughout the years. I mean, the young bucks, but I mean there was just as good a racing every Saturday night and almost every division out there. You know that, Dave. I mean from the go-karts to the Speedway Sportsman back in the grocery getter days. Look, Ed's back. Good to see Ed. Fredericksburg's finest internet, please.
Yes, they are. I
Hey,
don't know.
did you hear much of Dave Moon's interview, or did it drop off?
Dude, not only did you drop off, but you killed the stream too. You were sucking all the internet down
Magic.
there, and it messed it up.
One cool thing that Dave Moon was just saying was that his time behind the wheel was so important to help him then later set these cars up, because it's one thing to build it and understand the mechanics, but to have that kind of seat of the pants feel, he said that played such an important role in him actually being able to set these cars up. So I just wanted to share that point. It was good insight by Dave Moon.
Oh, I can
Scotty.
only imagine what just happened in Mooresville.
I had to mute the mic.
Yeah, I figured you did. You're gonna have. I tell you,
Yeah, well, it's new.
it was. I'd like to. If we ever got a chance to get a replay of that, it was pretty close going down in the corner, but it might have been a little bit of a brake check on that start too. So maybe.
Oh, here you go.
maybe it
He's
looked
going to
like
back
payback.
up so we can check it out. Let's see.
Yeah, you look at this start, Scott, and it had a lot of brake check. Well, they're not going to go back that far, but it had a lot of brake check going in there.
brake checks
but,
are free.
Brake checks are free. Yes, they are. Okay,
There
let's
we
see
go.
what
Look,
happened.
look, look,
Okay, no, he never touched him. Never touched him.
Yeah.
Hey, Scotty, did you go over? You must have gone over and goosed your driver.
He pulled a Denny Hamlin Carter on him.
He's He's talking to the TV. It's good stuff right now. The computer screen.
Listen, we've learned a couple things tonight in iRacing. One, I need to move somewhere with better internet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dave, you're good. Scotty, you can't broadcast from the same room where a driver is.
No, that should be a requirement, dude. This is this is awesome.
Yeah, but we might get kicked off of YouTube with some of the language used there. So yeah.
You just got to be quick on the mute button, baby.
Yeah.
We're 121 laps into this thing. You see Queen back on top there. Jones second, and Tyler Hughes there in third spot. And we ride now with Kevin Dillon. Dillon has been right there in the thick of it all night long. You heard, I believe it was Scotty, somebody talking earlier that the Dillons both do a whole lot of iRacing. So there's Dillon in the thick of things right there behind Hughes. That's the battle right now for third and fourth. There's the second place car right in front of them. You think we've had some cautions already? It will get a little bit sick here towards the end. Queen, Jones, Hughes, Dillon. There's Sergio Pena now in fifth spot. Going to get real serious now with just 75, 76 laps still to go here in this one. We are at the virtual Richmond Raceway, the Old Dominion Throwback 200. I'm Edwin Pardue. Scotty Gore with me. Dave Menefee with me. Guys, let's look in. We all made some picks early on. I had DJ Powell. I'm not sure DJ has dropped back a little bit. Scotty, where's your driver?
Saving tires, baby. Saving tires.
What about you, Mr. Menefee? We got another caution here. Let's see.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't see anything going on. Let's.
Something happened. I don't know. You know, you talk about the Dillons and how many cars they used to bring to the racetrack, but there was also another group that brought a whole herd of cars. Dave and Ed, Bill Lone and the Pink Panther group.
The pink cars, yeah.
Oh my gosh, man! There was sometimes 8 of them at the racetrack every night.
And every one of those things were fast too, especially that Mustang that Bill Lone Jr. drove.
Oh yeah,
those races between him and Harry Graves and Les Steger and some of those guys. It was crazy how fast those what we call them mini stocks back in the days. Yeah. How fast those things were going.
And guys, they used to bring that Bill Lone crew. They used to bring a couple of old Ford Opals to race in the mini stock class. So, you know, not a whole lot of people probably went to their local short track on a NASCAR night and saw an Opal racing. But yes, Bill Lone and the crew used to bring some Opals to race in mini stock.
Well, what about the other car that ran in that mini stock class that won a bunch of races? His name was Denzel Dillman, but they called him Putt Dillman, and he had that Mazda rotary engine in that car, which eventually they had to take away because he was stomping everybody. But he would go down into the corners down in turn 1 and turn 3, and there would be about a 3-foot flame come out of the bottom of that thing because of that rotary motor.
Yeah, it was that, and you know, I think Billy Earl touched on it earlier in the broadcast, where those early late model days, and then Scotty, you touched on it when you talked about the beginning of the U-Car days. It was a little bit of the Wild West, and you had to have this ingenuity and because you were building your own parts and everything, and that was part of it. Part of that shade tree mechanic piece was so important in that era.
And Mike Darn's race shop is about 3 minutes from my house in Concord. And I tell you what, man, gone are the days of the come along in the old oak tree, you know, going out there to fix the car after you tear it up. I mean, they clip them. They're surface plates at the late model level. I mean, it just blows my mind to look at the amount of effort that these guys put into going, you know, to any short track down here on a Saturday night. It's just amazing to me how much work and the intricacy of it all at this point. It's nothing like when Billy Earl started, or back when we were running the U cars, just trying to, you know, bend things here to make them adjustments or something of that nature, you know.
And face it, Scott, it's and you know it as well as I know it, and Ed knows it, and everybody that's involved knows it. This is not a money making division. You do this for the love of the sport, because if you think you're going to make money going late model racing, you're sadly mistaken. And it is because the love of racing that these guys, they spend all week long putting together cars to go race for people they don't even know. And then they spend all weekend that they go putting these cars together again and go out and do the exact same thing over and over again. And it's just for the love of the sport. The money, yeah, it's got a lot to do with it. But honestly, if you don't make any money in this, it's just for the love.
Well, and go back to that shade tree. Scotty, this is a story you might not even know this. It was one of the early years when my dad was running late model, and he was trying to finish in the top 5 in points, and we blew a motor in practice. And your dad said, "Well, Sherrill, I got a old motor underneath the grandstand." So we literally took it out and went underneath the old shade tree that was there by the drag strip, and pulled the motor out, threw this motor in that your dad gave us so Dad could start the race and get some points. And that literally was shade tree mechanic. And we literally were under the shade tree there by the drag strip, changing motors in the afternoon, using somebody's wrecker. Probably Claudie brought the wrecker out so we could change a motor and go racing. Nowadays, it's virtual racing. Brendan Queen in that 03 car does have the restarts down, but look at the battle there. Second, third, fourth, fifth, 2 by 2 as they go through turn number 2, up the back straightaway now, and look at that. Tyler Hughes is right in the battle. Oh, they go 3 wide. There's Sergio Pena in the 01. They're 3 wide, and there's one of the Dylan cars. One of the Dylan's cars is sideways off turn number 3. He gets it going, but we are under caution once again. And
got some rear end damage on that Dylan machine.
Guys, I'll tell you what, these guys, they're paying attention. They want to win. I'm getting some email message. Ryan Ellis just sent me a message going, "Thanks for the shout out." So these guys want to win because it is some bragging rights. And I'm going to say we'll have a few more cautions before we're done.
That's pretty good. A pretty good look into the future there, buddy. And with my buddy that's sitting over here across from me, like I said, I keep muting the mic, and it's a good thing I do, because he'd have everyone on the broadcast chasing him down after it was all over, I'm sure. But
yeah, it looked like the 52 got a little bit loose before that 0 helped him out a little bit, but it definitely looked like he got a little bit loose going in the corner, and then he had a little bit of assistance. And poor Jonathan Finley, he has been involved in just about every caution, I think, tonight that we could have.
He's torn up some virtual sheet metal.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, and I talked with you guys.
Here comes JJ. He's going to.
One thing every racer wished that they could have back in the day is a reset. So each driver during the feature event tonight does get one reset button. And I'm sure by this point, with 133 laps and about 800 cautions, guys have used a whole lot of reset buttons.
You said you got an email from Ryan Ellis. I guess his reset buttons ran out tonight, right? I mean, if he's sending you emails, I guess he's kind of used up all his reset buttons.
It's a little different type of racing, Dave. You can send an email from pit road on this stuff.
Yeah, but you can't send it. You can't send an email while you're driving. Well, you're not supposed to.
Let me go through your top 10. There's Brendan Queen in the 03, Tyler Hughes in second, Eric Jones in the 7 car, David Polens in the 33, who's being chaperoned by Scotty Gore.
And there's Ryan Ellis in 6th.
Yeah, Ryan Ellis 6th. Tyler Payne, Sergio Pena, Chris Reardon, and David Markham. We talked to Curtis earlier. There's David Markham rounding out the top 10, and there is Ryan.
Well, apparently the rules aren't the same in this race as they are in the Cup deal, because remember when Keselowski got fined for texting from his car? So I guess the rules are a little bit different on iRacing. I guess you can text and iRace at the same time.
Guys, we're going to get kind of into some serious racing here. These guys are going to get crazy here in a little bit, but this has been really a lot of fun, and the chance to talk to Joe Prescott, Jeff Young, Curtis Markham, Billy Earl, Dave Moon. That was really a lot of fun. Some good flashback conversations.
Hey, Edwin, this is Wes.
Yes, sir.
Hey, just a little quick heads up for you guys in case anybody has any questions. You're seeing us go from single file to double file restarts.
I have noticed that.
Yes, the reason being is if there's consecutive cautions, one after another, we go single file until we run 10 consecutive green flag laps, and then we will go double file. So that's why you may be seeing that.
Thank you, Wes. I appreciate
right.
that. Yeah, it's kind of calm them down a little bit.
You know, Ed. You know there's an old saying that that we've all used in the announcing, and of course as the drivers as well. Cautions breed cautions. As we get down to less than close to 50 laps to go, this thing. I don't think we've seen the last 5 cautions yet. I think this thing's going to get crazy. Although unless Brendan Queen totally has a problem tonight, he has had this field covered tonight. And these guys, but I see, Tyler Hughes has kind of caught up to him as well. So I look for maybe another handful of cautions. You're going to go green flag racing here coming out of turn 4. Let's see what happens.
Pace truck is on pit road. Brendan Queen, again, great on the restarts. Tyler Hughes, those 2 drivers have run fender to fender in real racing at Dominion, down at Langley. They know each other well. They lead the way. And Jones there in 3rd place. And we've got, I believe, that's Sergio Pena getting turned around.
It was. There's 2 of them down there, Sergio and David Markham.
That's going to be an OS.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Scotty, that was an OS. Now we're doing a reset.
Yes, you are absolutely right.
Make sure you keep the 2 separate, okay?
I got you, buddy.
All right, let's take a look. They're backing this thing up. And that's one of those things you always wonder, did somebody check up? So there you see Sergio. We're coming there out of turn number 2.
Down on the apron again. Yep. The same thing has happened to a bunch of guys tonight.
Dave, you beat me to it. That's exactly what you had mentioned earlier. And again, it's to clear it up. It has nothing to do with because that's a piece of yellow paint there. That's not a Daytona thing that you went below the line.
See if you can show that again. Maybe you can get them to show it again.
Yeah, the yellow line represents where you go from banking to the absolutely flat. And so any help the car's getting from the banking, and what's so cool about iRacing is they incorporate that into the program.
Yep.
And you'll see. So
right there,
go back.
Right there. Yeah, and let's do it in slow motion if we can do it. That'd be kind of neat to see. But you'll see him dip down, and then the car it upsets the car when he gets down there right there, that one tire. You see it gets right there at the apron, and it turns the rear end around, and he tries to catch it, and then it comes back around on him. And of course, David Markham, no place to go.
Hey, Dave, real quick, see if we can get an in-car of David Polin's right now on the screen.
I don't want to see it.
You don't want the in living room view, just the in-car of the 33.
Okay, all right, yeah.
It's pretty cool. He's riding around behind Eric Jones, and he's got in memory of Craig Murtaugh on the back bumper of the car.
Oh, nice.
Oh, very cool.
Nice. Yeah, you talk about Craig Murtaugh. We've lost a handful of drivers and crew members and whatnot over the past few years since we left Old Dominion, and most recent, Craig Murtaugh, who was just phenomenal when it came to covering auto racing, and just, you talk about somebody that loved auto racing. He ate, slept, and drank auto racing. He was the publisher of Late Model Digest, and just a phenomenal person, and just loved auto racing, and literally I knew him for 30 some odd years, and we go way back, and he just really good person. He was fair. He was always he never downgraded anybody, never downplayed anybody. He never said anything bad about anybody. He called it the way he saw it, and unfortunately he passed away not too long ago, and he'll be sorely missed at the racetrack from here on out.
Absolutely, Dave. And I tell you, I got the luxury of seeing him a few times when I'd go to Hickory Motor Speedway down here. He'd come all the way down here to watch some of the super races and such. And I just got a text message from Mike Kidwell, and he said that the track truck's out of gas.
Hey, you know what? Let me go back to that wreck for a moment. We don't need to rewind it, but something else, Dave. You know what I noticed is Pena was coming up on Tyler Payne's 18 car, and he was catching him a little bit quick. And what may have caused that accident, he was coming up on Payne, and thought about diving underneath of them. That's what made Sergio kind of take that move to the bottom. So you go back, and when you watch an accident, there's like about 5 different steps to it. And again, he caught Tyler Payne, thought about jumping underneath because he caught Payne real quick, and that's what started that accident. So it's nice to have that replay to be able to go back and look at it. Yeah, my comments on Craig Murto. I always loved when I'd go somewhere and Craig and his brother were at the racetrack together, and they just loved being there and part of the event. It was I miss the guy a lot. He did a really, really great job. All right, so Rowdy had told us earlier about the single file restart. So here's a single file once again. Queen, Hughes, Eric Jones, 1, 2, and 3, and there's Scotty's sweet mate. Polen's there in the 33. One of the Dillon's machine now running in 4th spot. And everybody's going to start getting racy here as we're now 143 laps complete. Look at the Reardon's car down way low. And see, did he get Reardon on pit road? He got into somebody.
Did you just call David Pollen Scotty's sweet mate? Is that what you just called him?
His sweet mate. They're sharing a room.
Oh, okay. We needed to clarify that.
Sweet as in
S-U-I-T-E. Yes. Okay,
right.
Just clarify that a little bit, Ed.
Okay, back to racing action.
Hey guys, just a quick word for you. Sergio Pena there was sent to the back of the pack on that restart because of an incident with the 44. He made some contact, not paying any attention, and knocked into the rear of the 44 there under caution. So admins deemed that he needed to go to the end of the longest line. If you're wondering why the 0-1 went to the...
Let's see what Sergio can do from the back. All right, let's focus in on this. We're getting down to crunch time here. 145 complete of 200 here at Virtual Richmond Raceway. This is the Old Dominion Speedway 200. Drivers, cars, some old paint schemes that will take you back to the day. There's Dylan in the 52 car. And right now, everybody on that racetrack still thinks they have a chance to win this race, as we're now 53 laps from completion. There's DJ Powell in the 56 car. You know, DJ was real strong early on in this race. He's had to work his way back through the pack. So there's Powell. Let's see what he can do. Where's he now? Back up to 10th place. So he was up front in the top 5 early. He's now working his way back up. You see him to the inside. He'll try to pick up a spot. And guys, business will pick up here in these final 50 laps.
Even the dog is getting excited back there.
Yeah,
and
man.
He's ready for the finish of this race.
Yes, I'm going to go let Snickers out. I'll be right back.
Hey, Dave, this is what I like to call full send mode right here. This is going to be Snickers or Wreckers, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. You know, everybody, I mean, you know, this being iRacing and being virtual and all this, that, and the other, but Scotty, you know as well as I do that it doesn't matter if it's iRacing or if it's a 10-lap heat race or whatever. When we put those helmets on, we kind of forget about what's going on, and all we want to do is beat that guy in front of us. So this thing is about to ramp up pretty quick.
Oh, yeah, and my buddy Timmy Tyrell used to say when we strapped those helmet on, it would squeeze our brains down to our rears.
Yes, well, that's exactly what happens in a lot of cases. And,
tighten up that old chin strap, and it makes for interesting times.
Or what did we used to say, Scott, when we crashed each other? Say somebody ran out of talent, right?
Yeah. Talent meter went to dead zero.
Yes, it did. Right now, it looks like the 26 gets around David Pollen's there for position. So
yeah, he was just screaming. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I got headphones on. It's hard to hear him.
Yeah. We'll have to get you a camera, Scotty, and we'll have to get you some noise-canceling headphones so you don't have to listen to the
That'd be good stuff, man.
Yeah. But right now, we've got Brendan Queen, who, Scotty, I mean, unbelievable, Scotty, how this guy is literally stomping the field so far. I mean, he's probably led 3/4 of the laps, 136 laps so far. But I tell you, Scott, and we've seen this before, that Tyler Hughes, we've seen Tyler, the way he races at not only Dominion, but at Old Dominion. When he's lurking back there, if he's got a car that'll do it and he's this close, he just seems to be able to pick it up right there at the end of the race.
Yeah, and you don't know about who's riding around saving tires. I mean, I know you remember the days of Dustin Storm and Mike Darn racing around Old Dominion in a 200-lap event. At any point in the race, they might be as far back as anywhere from 10th to 15th place just riding, you know?
Yep.
So it's kind of hard to say. I mean, you might have a couple of these guys that are saving equipment, and then you don't know how hard Brendan's pushing his car. I mean, he may have that thing on. It may be that good that he doesn't have to push it.
Absolutely, and you know that, and the way things have gone, I mean, we've had several caution flags. These guys are probably banking on maybe 1 or 2 more cautions. So yeah, right now would be the time to ride around until you get to about maybe 175 or 180, and then you're going to really have to just say, okay, tires or no tires, I'm going to the front.
Yeah, full send. Just let's hope this sticks when you go in the corner. We'll see what happens. I mean, like I said, I think Queen's car is just absolutely hooked up on rails, man. It doesn't look like anybody's had anything for him. I mean, he's been meticulous to get through situations, to where he doesn't abuse his stuff or anything like that. Meanwhile, you got my sweet mate, as Ed calls him, that's over here just whacking it off the walls and getting run into, and I mean, he's not saving anything.
Well, if he spent more time driving and talking, it might make a little bit of a difference.
Dude, I'm just listening to that mouth. I
never
thought
stopped.
I had a mouth. It
Hey,
never
let me let you in on information there, Paul. Ed will be able to vouch for this as well. If you ever tried to interview David Pollenz, that's when you go into overtime at Old Dominion Speedway, because you can never get him to stop.
You hit curfew.
Well, yeah, I guess my post-race plans changed up just a little bit there then.
Yeah. We give him a hard time, but we like him. David's a good guy. He's done a lot for tonight's race. He's done a lot for the racing in general.
Yeah.
But for this event to put something like this together, he has put his heart and soul in it. So I know we kind of crack on David a lot, but he knows we're kidding. He knows we're having a good time with it, and he's good to be around.
And to be honest, Dave, I'm just glad he got the three of us together, man. This has been a great time this evening, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And Ed lining up the guests, that was good stuff, bud.
Yeah, those guys were good. Nice to hear from those guys. Let's see, 159, 40 laps to go. Who saved what? We saw some folks strong in the early stages. Queen has been untouchable up front. He's been great on the restarts. Tyler Hughes, Tyler would love to win this iRace here on his dad's birthday night. As we said, the Dillons with a ton of iRacing experience. Those are your top 3 with 40 laps to go. There's Pollenz and the 33. By the way, I told David I was cleaning up my garage and came across one of his old David Pollenz Gazoo energy drink banners that I still have in my garage. So that goes back a few years ago.
Yeah, there was a point in time at Old Dominion Speedway that everybody on pit road had Gazoo, and that was a tremendous sponsor and a tremendous supporter of racing at Old Dominion Speedway during those years.
It was good stuff, definitely. I think my favorite garage piece, Ed, because I've heard you talk about the Curtis Markham door. My favorite garage piece, I have an original Winston Racing Series flag, one of the big red banner flags, the nylon ones, and it says R.J. Reynolds Tobacco in the bottom of it, man. It's really cool. And I actually got the opportunity this past summer to meet up with a gentleman named Colbert Seagraves, who was Ralph Seagraves' son.
Oh, yeah.
And that was an impressive visit to his house, man. His house is a museum of just, it would be forever for me to go through everything that he's got. But his dad was, responsible for bringing about the Winston Racing Series and Winston in all forms of motorsports. And that was probably one of the highlights of my summer was being able to go visit with him and learn about him and see some of the history that he has held on to.
Guys, we're getting to the kind of the stage in the race right now where you're going to need to be there somewhere in the top 5, top 10 with a chance to win this. There'll be a bunch of cautions here at the end. We know that. But if you're going to win this thing, you need to have yourself in position right now. Brendan Queen is stretching that lead out. Look at Queen's lead down into turn number 1. That's impressive. Again, he's got to be perfect right now. And the other thing we talked about, everybody has some different setups. Some of these guys will have a setup at the house that is, they've spent a ton of money on the setup. The other guy has a steering wheel taped to his dining room table and some pedals from his Mario Kart game. So you can spend a ton of money on the rigs for this iRacing, can't you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they showed a lot of that during the, in the NASCAR the Cup deal. Some of these guys, Denny Hamlin spending $30,000 or $40,000 on his setup, and so yeah, you could spend a bunch of money. Now, Ed, I'm noticing a couple. Well, first thing I'm thinking about one thing, and I'm noticing another thing. Right now, if you look at the tracker, Brendan Queen and Tyler Hughes, each lap they are anywhere between 8.99 to 916 apart. They're a little bit. They stretched out a little bit that lap, but it stayed pretty steady. There's a 916 on that one. They stayed pretty steady in terms of the distance between the two, and you were running into about 30 laps to go. But one other thing that we brought up earlier in the race that we brought up at the halfway point, we've never had a green flag run this long before, and fuel may become an issue here because remember, race control said that we had 2 or 3 drivers run out of fuel, and we ran a lot more caution laps in the first half of the race than we have on this second half, and now we've got this long green flag run. You may see some cars running out of fuel here at the end.
Yeah, I mean, here we are, iRacing. It's become a fuel race. So that's
well, that's a cool part of the software. Yeah,
it's exactly it. Yes.
Yeah, it's a cool part of the software. They incorporate everything that they could. I mean, they spend a ton of money. They spend a lot of time, and they don't just put cars on the racetrack and go straight and turn left. This is a thing that's put together with the car manufacturers and with the engine builders and with the crew chiefs and the drivers. It goes a lot deeper than a lot of people think. I mean, you see the package here that you see on TV. Okay, it's a bunch of cars going around a racetrack, but to get to this point, it's so intricate. There's so much software, so much code that has to be put together to make this what it is. Many people have no idea what it takes to put something together to get this package that you're seeing tonight here on iRacing.
Yeah, and it's funny too. This is Paul down in the production trailer, and I just got to chime in because it's funny because my dad knows how in depth I am with sim racing. I've been doing this a long time, probably going on 15 years, and he usually asks me how my sim races go. Running at super speedways and short tracks and stuff like that, and every time I tell him, oh man, I was running great, I was in the top 5, but I just ran out of gas. He's like, wait, how the hell did you run out of gas on the computer?
Right. Well, it's the same way I run out of internet here in Stafford.
No, dude, you ran out of internet more than anybody I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, you definitely ran out of internet.
You better get that mouse a new piece of cheese so he can run that wheel a little bit quicker, man.
Yeah.
Barney and Fred style.
I think the next time
off the grid.
The next time we're going to have Ed Pardue either come here to Front Royal or we're going to send him to Mooresville. So
he's got to come enjoy this.
Hey, Scotty, hanging out in a room with you and Polens, that would be worth the price of admission. Let's look at this battle right here. This is the battle between Hughes and Dillon. And a good one right there. Dillon's in third, Hughes in second spot. If one of those guys can get up there and challenge Brendan Queen, they have to deal with each other first. Up the back straightaway. You see, Queen is not as far ahead as he was just a little while ago. Battle for second spot. Hughes off turn number 4. They'll put lap number 175 on the board. 25 to go.
Hey guys, quick word.
And Hughes between second and third.
At this point in the race, if Tyler Hughes has anything for the 0-3 car of Brendan Queen, he's going to have to do it now. He's maintained this 0.86, 0.89 deficit here for the last few laps, but 25 laps on a 3/4 mile racetrack does not take a long time. So if he has anything for that 0-3, now is the time to show it.
Gonna take a quick word here with Race Edmund with Wes Rowdy Hogue.
Hey guys, quick word. We want to give out a shout out to 4X Graphics. 4X Graphics. They did a lot of the paint schemes on these cars here. So shout out to 4X Graphics. They do a lot of the paint schemes on the video on the sim here. They painted up a lot of these cars. So shout out to 4X Graphics.
And hey, Wes, while you're here,
I do want to shout out to them because I'm actually working with the guys at 4X Graphic to put my paint scheme together for my iRacing car. So yes, they've absolutely been fantastic with me, and I'm kind of new at this, and I've asked them a lot of dumb questions, and they're working with. Oh, we got a big one here. I'm gonna go back to the slow mo here. We'll talk about 4X. Well, 4X got to repaint this car here. When he gets back to the house, looks like Scott Wilkerson having. He's going for what do we call it, Scott? The full pull.
yeah, that's full send right there, bud.
Yeah,
Hey,
they're
y'all
gonna
watch this.
4X graphics going to have to work on this car.
Yeah, he's definitely gonna need some sheet metal here in a minute.
I don't know what happened. I mean, it doesn't look like anybody's near him enough to have anything go wrong, unless the software
pan out
blew
well.
a ball joint or something.
Yeah. He kicked a rod out of the bottom of his
Yeah,
computer.
he must have did something. He must be working from Fredericksburg with that internet.
Well,
he made up a lot of time there really quick. Oh, he got into the back of that black car.
Oh,
Hey,
this
Paul.
is going to end badly.
Hey, Paul, what'd you need, brother?
All good. I
Ryan
found
Ellis?
it. We were sifting through the replay, trying to find out why we were under caution. We're just waiting for this slow motion replay.
Big jump.
Ryan.
There we
Big
go.
jump.
Yeah.
There's the
Oh,
big
yeah.
jump.
Here we
This is
go.
going to be
Oh,
big.
So
yeah.
I got some storylines for you guys.
Shoot, let's hear
Okay,
it.
well, you're
right.
getting ready to see a really big storyline here in just a second, because this one's going for a big ride here.
Well, Sergio Pena, he fell out of the server. So unfortunately, he got disconnected. His connection, something happened to it, so he fell out. So unfortunate for him. Another thing here is the 5 car of Fowler. He is a man on the mission, and he's ruffled some feathers during that mission of a few drivers. So keep your eye out on the number 5 machine of Kyle Fowler as he works his way up through this pack. But that's going to be one to keep an eye on. We know their tempers are already starting to flare. We have about 20 laps to go, and this thing is far from over.
Hey, Rowdy, while I got you on the line, let me ask a question. Somebody asked me online, setups tonight, are these set generic setups, or did the guys were able to do custom setups tonight?
Well, the cool thing about iRacing is, I'm sure that you guys went over it, is you can have races where you can create your own setups, and then races where everybody races the same setup. This is a fixed setup, so all of these drivers are running the same exact setup. You can change one thing, I believe, in this car, and that is your steering ratio to help it be a little bit more sensitive to your drivability and your likability. So that is the only thing these gentlemen can change in these machines. Other than that, they are identical setups all throughout the field.
Thank you, Rowdy.
No
Thank you,
problem.
Rowdy.
And you guys are doing a heck of a job, by the way, watching the stream here. You guys are doing one hell of a job. Keep it up. I love listening to you guys. Your cohesion's great. I'm learning about Old Dominion as well. Seems like you guys have a great history. Thank you to everybody at Vidane TV as well. Everybody that's watching, be sure to hit the like and subscribe, either if you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, however it is. Old Dominion, I'll tell you what, you guys have been the class of Vidane TV. Awesome job, guys. I'm going to go back in the race control booth and try not to pull out my hair for the next 18 laps.
And with 18 laps
Thank
to
you
go,
thank you for the kind words.
we do want to talk to all of our viewers that are watching right now, both on Facebook and YouTube. We're paying attention to the chat. We got less than 20 laps to go. Let's hear you guys. Let's hear you guys talk. Let's hear where you're watching from, and let's hear who you think is going to win the race here tonight. With 18 laps to go, lights are off on the pace truck. Everybody's lined up 2 by 2 all the way through. Going to be going back green flag racing. Hopefully, we can take it to lap 200.
Well, this
Thank
is
you,
where the
Paul.
race is going to be won or lost, Ed, because this start is going to make a big difference. Tyler Hughes is going to have to be on his toes to keep up with that 03.
Guys,
I made my kids put on earphones because of David.
let's get into good old
Scott, they
school
prob- yeah,
MRN broadcasted here. We're back to green flag racing in the final throes of this 17 to go. You see them battling it back there, 4th, 5th, 6th position, down below the yellow line. If you're going to make a move, you got to do it now because the laps are quickly ticking away. Queen with another good restart. Look at them there. 3 wide through the dog leg of the front straightaway at the Richmond Raceway. There's Dylan on the inside. He's got to make a move now if he's going to race for it. Just ahead of him, there's the 33 of Polenz. Polenz behind the other Dylan. There's the other Dylan car, the 26 machine. He's currently 3rd. Polenz is 4th, and let's look to the front. Queen, Tyler Hughes running 1 and 2. There's a lot of bragging rights online tonight. Plus, Dave
big
Menefee
rag.
has kicked in, and look there, off turn number 2. We got a big one. There's the big one. Off turn number 2 and down the back straightaway. David, who's involved?
Looks like Tyler Payne. Looks like Chris Reardon involved. That the white car there in the middle. David Markham. It looks like he's involved. Let's take a look. Let's stop it right here. This is where all of the problems started going into this corner down here. Going to be on the right-hand side of your screen, the 52 car, and that black car and the number 7 car of Eric Jones. It looks like somebody. Eric Jones got into the black car there and got him turned. And once you get these cars sideways, there is no place to go, and everybody just kind of piles into each other.
Man, that's a big one.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody got
that Frankie. Yeah,
Frank was in it. Barry Kramer was in it. DJ looks like he made it through. The 3-car, Ryan Polin's involved. A lot of cars involved here. Albert Anderson got slowed down.
But on the binders, doesn't hit anything. He doesn't seem like he's got any damage through that. Good call there.
Looks like Tyler Payne got some heavy damage there. And see the smoke coming from behind the 04 car. He's going to have to hit the reset button on that one.
OS again.
OS.
No, that was the OS came first, and the reset button comes second.
Dave, you never said that behind the wheel, did you?
Huh?
You never said OS behind the wheel, did you?
I said it several times.
A lap.
Remember? Yeah. Remember the one night the steering wheel came off? That was a big one.
Yeah, that's how the cool kids do it, though.
That's how we do it. We steering wheel comes off, and you just along for the ride after that. Yeah, that one hurt.
Dude, go ahead.
The only race my mom ever came to was that one. The steering wheel come off, and I planted that thing in the front straightaway wall. And 2 things happened. My mom never came back to another race, and Dick Gore made me pay for the guardrail.
You'll have that with Dad. It's free.
Dude, I remember, back when I was, probably 2021.
Hey, Edwin.
Yeah, jump in.
I told you the 5 rustled some feathers.
Yeah, he does that occasionally. You know what's funny is Tony Fowler in the 5 car, he actually, when he's not racing, great guy, wonderful family, but he also does some work with Race with Rusty, the Rusty Wallace Racing Experience. He's one of the instructor and coaches with that Rusty Wallace Racing Experience. So he might have the devil horns on the racetrack tonight, but he's also going to be your best friend and coach if you ever do the Racing with Rusty experience. Yeah, I wanted to mention there was the time back when we used to run the heat races in late model, and Dad, a couple races, let me jump in and run his car in the heat races. And the first heat race I ever ran, my biggest fear was when they threw the green, everybody would just run off and leave me, and I'd look like an idiot. And so I went into turn number 1 and kind of forgot to take my foot off the gas and immediately backed the car into the guardrail in turn 1. So I probably owe Mr. Gore some guardrail money as well.
Ed, I actually remember that. I remember that happening. So that kind of dates us a little bit. But I actually remember that incident where you went into the corner all by yourself.
All by myself. Yeah.
Speaking of spectacular heat racing accidents, do you remember the Marquis D fire in a heat race?
Oh yeah,
that was huge.
Yeah, that was big. That was one of those things.
I'm almost certain it was Curtis Markham that pulled him out of the car.
Yeah, I don't know who pulled him out, but that was a huge problem. Now, hey, race control, I got a question for you. What do we have in terms of an overtime? Do we go 200 laps or we do overtime? How does this thing end? Just asking for a friend, as they would say.
That would actually be a fantastic question for Rowdy Wesley Hogue. Rowdy, we got 10 laps to go, getting ready to restart here. What have we got lined up for overtime?
We have unlimited green-white checkers. Boys.
Oh, buddy. Unlimited attempts at a green-white checkered here tonight, so it may very well be a very long night.
That is not Dick Gore approved.
No.
I don't think that's Al Gore approved. I don't think it's approved, period.
Hey, Scotty, you'd love it. Somebody texted me a moment ago that said if Dickie Gore was running this race, we'd already be drinking beer.
That's right. He'd have blown the front windows out of the tire. Look at this. We got us a race.
Yes, sir. There's the battle for second spot. Hughes in the 83, going to go 3 wide. Polin's now in the Dillon sandwich. One Dillon to the inside, one to the outside. And Hughes, let's see. Yes, and we're going to have a caution.
I can tell you right now that I found out that my grandsons are watching this race, and I could see them probably jumping off the couch saying, "Oh, there's another one going down there." I could see Liam and Wyatt absolutely jumping out of their chair, and they're going to get to see it again too with the 26 car.
Things just got loud in this house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it probably got loud at my daughter's house too.
So, guys, right there is a thing, and what's
the lens.
Yeah. What's so misleading, and we go back, that is turn number 2. Every corner on this racetrack, that's a hard hit. Every corner on this racetrack seems so open, so sweeping. You look at them, you think you can go 3 wide, but you do. You get down into turn number 2, and because the front straightaway has that sweeping D shape to it, what happens is off turn number 2, you've got a traditional, flat back straightaway. And so turn number 2, that wall right there that Kevin Dillon just became friends with, it comes up on you so much quicker than you would think. When you come off turn number 4 opens up and says, hey, let's go racing. Turn number 2 is sort of that black widow that says, not so fast. And you see Dillon there on pit road.
That's got reset written all over it, doesn't it, Scott?
Yeah, virtual sheet metal getting ready.
Yes, it does.
Now, that was actually a really good example of the reset. You saw the 7 car. Eric Jones came down pit road. He was looking like a crinkled up Bud Light can. Came on down, hit the OS button with 6 laps to go. Brand new race car. Just unfortunate for Eric Jones, though. He is running 5 laps down in 18th place. But at least he gets to run the last 5 laps in a brand new race car.
Yeah, well, there's still 5 laps to go, so I'm not sure that thing won't still be straight by the time we get done here.
One thing we haven't mentioned tonight, that's an old hardened paint job on the Eric Jones car.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier.
Sorry, I might have missed that.
No, you did. You probably had your mic muted for Polens.
Good chance of that.
But yeah, the old hardened paint scheme. We've been talking about these paint schemes. It's like the old Darlington throwback, man. This is great.
Yeah, this is awesome, man. I hope we get to do this again.
The question is, will we be allowed to do it again?
Absolutely.
I'm pretty sure. Well, we're going to be allowed to do it, but Ed Pardue's not doing it from his house.
And I need to set up for my house.
Yeah.
I think with a couple cocktails, this could get real fun.
All right, let's go through your top 10. There it is on screen. Brendan Queen and Tyler Hughes. DJ Powell, he's battled himself back up into the 3rd spot. There's David Polens and Tyler Payne. Barry Kramer in 6th spot. Trevor Collins, he's been kind of quiet tonight, but there's a driver who could sneak in a win. David Markham, how did Markham get back up there into 8th? Paul Green and Jeff Dillon, your top 10.
Yeah, we're down to 5 laps to go, and we found out unlimited chances to go 200 laps under green. We got to finish this thing under green, and we were talking about my 2 grandsons, Liam and Wyatt, who are still watching the race. I didn't think that they would sit down and watch 200 laps, but I just texted them and I said, so who are they rooting for? And of course, Jason, their father, came back and said the 03 car, which is not surprising. He's been leading every lap, so I'm pretty sure that they probably didn't pick him at the very beginning of this race, though.
Yeah, folks, this is going to get crazy at the end. Before it does, as we got one more lap behind the pace truck, we'll say thank you so much, David Polens, all the folks who organized this and put this together. Paul Strickland and Wes, you guys do an exceptional job producing these events. Pleasure to work with you guys. To our guests tonight, Curtis Markham, Dave Moon, Billy Earl, Joe Prescott, Jeff Young, thank you so much. In case it gets crazy, I want to thank all those people before we go racing. Pace truck on pit road. Brendan Queen, he is the master of the restart. All the way to the bottom. Here comes DJ Powell. Powell in the 56 looks to the inside of Hughes. Hughes now up on the outside. They touch a little bit coming off turn number 2. Polens is there now in 4th spot. Powell won't give up on the 83. Stays to the inside. You can run 2x2 here as fast as you can, single file, and Hughes staying on the outside. There's a look from the inside of Polens' car. He's watching the 2 in front of him. Which lane to choose? He stays right down on the yellow line. Now just 2 laps to go. If these guys get busy racing, it'll let Brendan Queen run away. Tyler Payne now, right there. He's behind the 33 of Polenz. And again, the more they race, the better it is for Brendan Queen. Guys, we're coming to the finish.
One more time around, we're going to get the white flag. Brendan Queen, who has been the dominant car all night long. He's probably led over 150 laps. And coming down, going into turn number 4, or out of turn number 4, getting ready to take the white flag here. One more time around for the 03 car.
What a great job by Brendan Queen. Has been dominant all race long, and it was the restarts that I think really made it for Brendan Queen. Those restarts, he was able to get away from everybody else. So Queen, Hughes, DJ Powell. Powell could not get by, and look at there. Tyler going to give the 33 a little bit of a rub, but there is your winner. They call him Butterbean, the 03 car. Brendan Queen going to mess up the grass here in the infield. And guys, that was some pretty good racing. The good news is we're going to be back to some real racing before too much longer. Scotty Gore, before we get out of here tonight, give me your takeaways as you look back on what we did tonight and then look back on the greater history of Old Dominion Speedway.
Man, this was a pleasure to be involved with. I'm so glad that David and Eric Jones and Tyler Payne and everybody involved got together and made this happen. Just incredible night. And then the racing was good. I mean, I figured it would have been a little bit more like a video game. I've never gotten into the iRacing too much, but it was impressive to watch these guys and to actually sit here in David's living room watching him drive the car off, over out of the corner of my eye. And it was awesome, man. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed hanging out with you two, and the guests that you had on were great. Hopefully, like I said, we get invited back to do this one more time or something.
Hey, here's a good one for you guys. I just got a Facebook message, somebody who was watching the broadcast tonight and said, man, loved watching the broadcast. Skip Potter joining us tonight and watching.
Wrong way, Potter.
There you go. Shout out to Skip Potter. Dave Menefee, before we go, your thoughts on tonight and your thoughts on the history of Old Dominion Speedway.
I think this was a good event. I liked it. I think it's something that I think would be good if we could continue it. I would love to be able to work with you guys again and work with the production crew, Paul, and all the rest of the guys here that put this together. We had a blast, and it was kind of cool reminiscing about Old Dominion Speedway and the guests that we had tonight and the paint schemes and so forth. Ed, what do you think? Let's try this again, but let's put them at North Wilkesboro this time.
I like it. That would be fun. Guys, it has been a blast. And
hang tight, Ed. Hang tight. I think they're going to try to get Queen to give you a call here. David's trying to get him onto the stream.
Good deal. So we'll hold on for a second. I will say this: once we get back to racing, whether it's going to a PDRA event, whether it's joining Dave up at Winchester, coming to see us at Summit, going to Dominion Raceway, you guys need to join. Well, I'm on the line. We have the race winner. Is this Butterbean on the line?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Brendan, Edwin Pardue, congratulations on the win here tonight. Your restarts were amazing.
Working hard on them for real life and on here, and it's just amazing. This race came together, and I had the privilege of running Old Dominion in legend cars a couple of times, and I wish this was real life because we're on a roll right now, and now winning the Old Dominion 200. I just hope this carries over to the real car.
Hey, I tell you what, and it came down, the art imitates life. It comes down to you and Tyler Hughes battling for the lead. That's what happens in real life, isn't it?
I know. We was talking a second ago. It's just, me and Tyler are really good friends. We've known each other forever. And today we're in his dad's birthday, and right there on that last restart, we're like, man, your dad's probably grinning, drinking blue beer, looking at us right now, saying, "Thank God y'all aren't racing in real life because y'all probably gonna tear these things up." And happy birthday, Don. We miss him every day, and I'm proud of Tyler for what he's done, and happy to call a friend.
And what better way to finish 1-2, on racing here where we can't race in real life. But like you said, it doesn't matter if it's sim racing or real life. It always seems like you got to race somebody like that. It's going to be hard to beat. And, man, I don't know. We had more fuel than them at that pit stop, and I kind of made my bed by staying out and leading the race for the track position. And I was a little worried when we were 6 on the restart, but man, we made it through there somehow, and I was like, man, we just need to lead. I think we'll be good, and it paid off.
Is there something you learned tonight that you take?
Well, Scott, is us again?
I think there's a little bit of technical difficulty there.
Ed's mic just keeled over.
I think I'm learning a lot about not picking the gas up early and scrubbing the nose and scrubbing straightaway speed, because like tonight, that straightaway speed is big, and with the moment, you got to keep your momentum. So I feel like if I can translate it to real life, I feel like I can win a lot more races, and you basically make it straightaway longer, and you're not killing your speed, because if you take the gas up early and shove the nose, then you kill the straightaway.
You would never think that you could take that much application. The race we go racing. Congratulations, you guys have a good night, brother.
Hey, thank you for putting it on. Thank you everybody who watched, and remember all the good memories, and y'all good one.
There he is. Winner tonight of the old Brendan Queen. Guys, great job. Our production crew was absolutely fantastic. And Dave, next time we need a virtual Dave up in the flag stand.
Hey, I'll be glad to do it. If there's some way to do it, we'll make it happen.
All right. Scotty Gore, thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
And thanks for having me here. Hope to see y'all soon at the races.
All right. Well, for Dave Menefee and Scotty Gore, for Wes Hogue down there on pit road and in race control, we want to say thank you so much. And to wrap it up, we'll send you back into the studio with Paul Strickland Jr. Paul?
Thank you so much. And man, oh man, what a fantastic race we had here. So awesome to have you three up here in the booth, man. Just being able to sit back and listen and just kind of push the buttons and only have to concentrate really on the camera angles and all the action on the track. Absolute pleasure for me. It was very, very cool. I learned a lot about Old Dominion, learned about a lot about racing, learned a lot of inside jokes, which is kind of always cool. But I do want to kick it over to my buddy Wes. Man, you were down there doing the race control, and man, final thoughts here on this race here, the Old Dominion Raceway reunion show.
Paul, I got to say, this is probably one of my most favorite races that we've got to broadcast, either call, produce, whatever it may be, just because of the history behind it and all these guys on the track knowing each other. You know, a lot of the series that we host, such as the New Smyrna Speedway Series, get the Florida Pro Trucks, East Coast Winter Series. A lot of those drivers, yes, they race each other in real life, but you have sprinkled in iRacing guys from all over the country and the continent, where this was mainly Old Dominion drivers. And I thought that aspect was so cool about this, as well as from time to time being able to catch the stories on the YouTube channel and hearing, the Old Dominion announcers and drivers and flagmen, whatever it may be, just everybody coming together for one cool cause. For me, it was a blast being able to be a part of this, be race control, help these drivers put on this show, get yelled at like every other race control does, get by drivers. It was almost an honor to get yelled at by these guys. So it was, man, I had a blast, and I hope they get to do this again with us, because I would love to be in race control again. A really good crew here. Eric, Tyler, David, everybody there helping put this on. Shout out to them.
Yeah, most definitely. And speaking of other races, we're not done racing here this week. And man, oh man, it's only Tuesday. This is night number 4 of our 10-night and a row stretch here at Verdane TV. Looking at it right now on your screen, we just got finished with the Old Dominion Raceway reunion show. Tomorrow night, we jump on back down to New Smyrna World E-Series of Racing. Going to be running the super late models there at New Smyrna for race number 3 of that. And Thursday night, it's going to be the same throwback series. New sponsor, new name, shorter name. Cannot thank these guys enough. They've shifted their name over to Shift North Series. So much less of a mouthful than it used to be. Don't even remember what it used to be. Don't even care. Shift North Series Thursday night, 8:15. Tim's Corner Motorsports, and heard it mentioned earlier, North Wilkesboro. If anybody's interested in coming on back Friday to watch some of that action, Tim's Corner Motorsports is putting on a special event. Going to be running the Arkham and Arts cars at North Wilkesboro Speedway, so that's definitely going to be an absolute kick in the pants. And then Saturday, doubleheader, Carter's iRacing Series, same great road racing action, different time slot, racing at 3 in the afternoon Eastern time there on Saturday. And then Tim's Corners Motorsports comes back with us Saturday night. I believe that's actually going to be at 6:30 p.m. Eastern start time. So lots of action here on Verdane TV. But man, I am wore out. I cannot thank you guys enough. David Polen, Scotty Gore, Edwin Pardue, Dave Menefee, Wes. You did an awesome job in a little bit different role for you tonight. You did an awesome as a race admin, and it's a kind of a no BS role with you, so it always works out really well. And I think we put on a pretty damn good show. I am very happy with the final product. I'm very excited. I am whooped, though. I'm going to go get myself a little bit of an adult beverage here and maybe hang out at the track for a few more minutes and kind of shoot the breeze just a little bit. But thank you guys so much from everybody here at Verdane TV, everybody at Old Dominion Speedway. Awesome show. Fantastic racing here tonight. And Dave, Ed, Scott, you guys are more than welcome to come back to Verdane TV anytime. As I've mentioned earlier tonight, we race at least 6 nights a week. So anytime you guys want to come on and call a race and make sure you can knock the rust off, absolutely more than welcome to come on here anytime you want. With that being said, thank you guys so much. Thanks for joining us here in the booth. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. All that good stuff on the social media with the Facebook and the YouTube, Verdane TV on both. Thank you guys so much for coming out. I'm almost at a loss for words. Such a huge show tonight. Very excited. Thank you for coming out. We hope this broadcast made it to you in good health. But hey, if it didn't, we hope you get well real soon. Things are pretty crazy out there right now. But thanks so much for coming out. Have yourself a great night. We will see you tomorrow night at New Smyrna Speedway for race number 3, Super Late Models at New Smyrna. And we're going to do it live, as we always do here at Verdane TV.
Everyone's frozen, social hypothermia, tapping to my sinuses, chemical dysturbia.